And welcome to the Redeye Stream. I saw the world burn, and all I got for it was this lousy T-shirt. Oh, 2020. Is this just a bad dream? Is this just some crazy acid-induced nightmare, Doku? It has to be, right?
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know anymore, dude. I really don't know anymore. Shit's getting weird. Shit's getting wild. And yeah, I want off. Someone hit the emergency stop button. I want a refund.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get into some of the craziness. Well, right now, Doku. There's an earthquake.
I guess there was one earlier. I didn't hear about it, but according to this man, there was. So,
well,
what
does genius have to say?
Well, what he said is, so naked guy running through the street. I don't know where this was. It looks like it's either a construction zone or somewhere that got hit with one of the riots and burned down. I'm not entirely sure, but there is a stark naked dude, not even wearing socks, running down the street, and someone runs up to him and kind of gets him to stop, and dude does a light jog in place, like I shit you not, elementary school style jogging in place. Ask him why he's naked, and goes, well, because I got 2 children. It's like, well, why are you naked? I got 2 children. They're apostles. It's like, what do you mean apostles? He's like, no, there's an earthquake. I'm going now. He keeps running down the street saying, hey, God is good. God bless. And just keeps on running. I don't know, dude. I do not know anymore.
I have a theory. I think that dude is one of the dudes that got released from jail early because of COVID. I think this was Seattle, and I think it's the same dude, right, that had the machete at the Chaz, and then the Chaz people stole his clothes, right, and then kidnapped his children and brainwashed him.
It's a better explanation than what I got, because I'm serious, dude. I don't know at this point in time. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what people are thinking. All I can do is sit back, laugh at it, have fun, and drink a beer, and hopefully kill off enough brain cells that I'll forget the next morning.
It's insane. Okay. Lady Antebellum has it's a band, it's a country group. They are now being forced to change their name because the Antebellum South is evil. We're erasing history, remember, people?
I thought they changed it voluntarily.
What I read is there's a big uproar about it, and then they quote unquote voluntarily decided to change it. Like, that's not their fucking manager going, guys.
No, so another case of outrage mob / cancel culture forcing PC culture onto pop culture.
Oh, and Paw Patrol is bad. If you don't know, Paw Patrol is a show about these dogs or whatever. One's a firefighting Dalmatian, one's a cop, and one's a construction worker. They drive cool cars, run around helping people. My kids watch it so much, it drives me insane. Now, I might want it canceled for that reason, but not really. My kids love this show. And what's wrong with showing good cops in a good context? Like, How many times anybody that's watched this channel for longer than 6 months knows I'm not the biggest supporter of the police. Okay, you know that, but you can still have good cops. Matter of fact, the majority of them are good. Okay, now one white guy kills his wife. Does that mean every white husband is going to murder their wife? No, that would be ridiculous. One Mexican kills another Mexican. Does that mean all Mexicans are killing each other? No, that's ridiculous. The same goes for every group, including the police. Okay? It's more than one, Dodge. It's more than one, Chris. Yeah, I know. And there's more than one murderer out there. You think about that? Okay? You don't let the bad apples make you cut down the entire tree.
That's the thing. Whether you're wearing a uniform and a badge, or you're wearing a wife beater with tattoos, or you're throwing up gang signs, like there's always going to be shitty people in society, no matter where you look. You can't. Well, how's the saying go? The sins of the father or not shouldn't be pushed down onto the son. It's something along those lines. I know I'm probably butchering that, but you can't blame all cops for the actions of a few bad cops. The same way you can't blame, everyone wearing a wife beater for the actions of one piece of crap who's going to sit there and mug you in the street. It's just, that's not the way shit works, dude. Like, I'm sorry. What's the proper term? Projection? You're trying to project the actions of some bad people onto an entire group. Isn't that by nature what the quote progressives are against? Like, what happened to individual accountability?
Well, and here's the thing. They're pushing people that are normally sympathetic to them out of the movement. People like Tim Pool. Okay? Because they're saying out to the public, abolish the police. We want pretty much either direct democracy, which is bad, or communism, which is bad. But then they take over and they pretty much go into a warlord Zimbabwe state. And, you got freaking YouTube rappers running shit. What? And that goes back. No, and it gets worse, Doku. It gets fucking worse because now they're setting up fucking gardens that aren't going to work. They want to use human feces to grow their food because that's awesome. Great idea, guys. Yeah, E. coli, anybody? Have fun. Oh, and by the way, they're segregated. They want to bring back fucking segregation. Are you kidding right now?
Dude, they've been trying to do that. They've been trying to do that for a while, dude. Like, let's be honest. That's ever since the civil rights movement of the 1960s, and when that was deemed successful, they've ironically been pushing for segregation ever since then. It's extremely counterproductive. It's like you want equal rights, but you don't want to live next to someone who looks different than you or holds different ideological opinions. Like, why do you think you go through certain neighborhoods and you'll see flags of a certain color or a certain design, but if you're not part of that same type of group think, you are either socially ostracized or other individuals will segregate from you. It's kind of a base thing when it comes to human nature, where the outsider, and it doesn't have to be an ethnic thing, but let's say for the sake of argument, using an example, you could say the white dude and the black dude have been living next to each other for the past 10 years. They wave every morning, they say hi. They're part of the proverbial, the tribe or the pack. And then some dude moves in, and for the next 10 days, the neighbor down the street doesn't say hi, doesn't wave, you don't even know his name. The white dude and the black dude who've been living there for the next 10 years are going to look at that guy and kind of view him as an outsider because he's not he's not part of the tribe. He's not part of the pack. Like, that's how greater society works. It doesn't have to be predicated in racism. It doesn't have to be predicated in classism. It doesn't even have to be predicated in what language you speak or what religion you follow. It's just you're either part of the society or you're not. And outsiders are inherently looked at as being a greater threat than those who are naturalized, I suppose is the proper term. Like, am I wrong in this assertion?
Not necessarily. But the thing is, in my perspective, like, that's why a lot of people where I live don't really like me, because I keep to myself. I don't want to be a part of your little group. I want to keep to myself and leave you alone, and you should leave me alone. But they can't. The more you leave them alone, the more they watch you and rat on every little thing you fucking do. It's insanity to me. It's insane. But that's pretty much what you're talking about.
That's because inherently you're perceived as being part of the territory. You're encroaching upon the territory. You're perceived as not part of the pack, but you're still within their midst, and that inherently puts people on edge. You're perceived as a threat. Again, human beings by nature are pack animals. I think COVID is a good example. When you have people isolated from larger society, they go fucking insane. They go crazy. I mean, hell, I had my edgy moments from time to time where I was going a little bit stir crazy and suffering from cabin fever, just being locked up and not being able to go to the bar for 4 or 5 months and not being able to interact with larger society outside of what we do here on YouTube. And yeah, it kind of drove me a little bit crazy. So I think it's a fair assessment to state that when you see someone who is self-isolated, naturally other human beings are going to look at that and kind of scratch your head and make you wonder. You're instinctively going to perceive them as a greater threat.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't really want to dwell on the current events too much. We can segue into COVID for what? I'll spend 10 minutes on it, man. Go ahead and bitch about Fauci for 10 minutes. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette.
When it comes to fucking COVID, dude, like par for the course, right on time. You didn't hear Bricks talk about COVID, or you didn't hear Fauci talk about COVID. You saw all these people out protesting in the hundreds, the thousands, marching down the streets, throwing trash around, doing whatever the hell it is they damn well want. They're not wearing gloves, they're not wearing masks. And you have the CDC and other health quote professionals coming out and saying, oh, well, systemic racism and white supremacy and militarized police they're a public health issue. It's one of the greatest public health threats to the entire country. It needs to be addressed. We support the protests. Hold your fist in the air and go ahead and soapbox and virtue signal all you want. The second that frickin' DJT comes out and decides he's going to hold a rally, what frickin' little rat pops his head out of his fucking mouse hole? Dr. fucking Fauci saying that COVID is not over and we've just seen the beginning of it. And, the Don has forgotten about it and he's being irresponsible to fight, despite the fact that it's not his responsibility to enforce social distancing or enforce whatever state or city policies that these areas have. It's not Trump's fucking responsibility. But of course they come out and Trump is being irresponsible and it's a public health crisis and COVID is going to spread even further. And it's like, oh my God, dude, you're not even trying anymore, are you? At least come up with a better frickin' argument. Hey, do you think we're that stupid? Hey, for 3 weeks with all these riots and shit going on, COVID is a non-issue. And then suddenly the Don wants to hold a fucking rally and now you guys are talking about the coof. The Wuhan coof, we know you're using it for political gain as a fucking bludgeon. F off, get the hell out of here. The entire agenda is to destabilize and destroy, because that's the only way they're going to be able to win and garner any fucking support, because they're incompetent. They do not like the inherent idea of what would you call, like, the American dream. They don't want to see small businesses sit there and actually be successful and compete with what potentially is a large corporation and by extension, a potential donor for their political campaign, so they can sit there and fucking tax people so they can get their freaking paychecks and their pensions while they sit in their fucking gated communities and their freaking $1 million mansions, like the fucking entitled ivory tower pricks that they are, while you sit there and you have to watch your city burn down. Come on, man. Hey, let's put the bullshit aside. Let's cut the fucking political rhetoric and let's call a spade a fucking spade. These people are using this type of shit as a fucking political bludgeon to push their own fucking agenda. It's self-serving, and they're using the useful idiots as essential foot soldiers to go ahead and terrorize communities that might otherwise not fall in line with their essential worldview. It's a manipulative, disingenuous, and, to be blunt, ultimately disgusting and dehumanizing tactic. The same way that they say, like, oh, well, voter ID is voter suppression. So you're telling me that a black person can't go to the fucking DMV and get a driver's license and show up to a polling station and, you know, prove that they actually are a resident and prove that they are who they are? You telling me that a black citizen of the United States of America doesn't have a social security number that they can tell to the person at the fucking computer behind the area that can confirm their identity? Is that really what you're telling me? Because that sounds pretty fucking racist and bigoted if you ask me. These people think we're fucking stupid, and to be blunt, I'm sick and tired of it, because they take their same bullshit, and not only is it disingenuous and fucking bigoted and racist and disgusting, but it's more irritating to me that they fucking sit there and think that we're too stupid to realize what they're trying to do. We know exactly what the hell you're trying to do. You're trying to marginalize people and put them into boxes so that you can sit there and fucking point your finger at someone, and if they don't agree with you, you can label them with an ist or an ism or some other fucking buzzword that they'll come up with next. And by the time it's all said and done, well, who's going to be the one that actually benefits? Who's going to be the one that ends up in power? Who's going to be the one that gets screwed over? Because I guarantee you, it's not going to be the assholes that you're voting for. It's going to be the fucking people who sit there and try to say, you're racist for supporting this. You're sexist for supporting this. This is bad. This is bad. You're bad. You don't agree with me. Let's publicly ostracize you. Let's drag you through the dirt. Let's string you up like a fucking puppet and fucking beat you like a piñata. Go fuck yourself. Piss off. My taxes pay your salary. We're not that dumb. And the fact that you think I'm that fucking stupid is goddamn insulting. Kiss my ass.
Well, no, and it gets worse. Okay. The country erupted in, well, they call them peaceful, but let's say what it is. Riots. All right. There were peaceful protests involved. There were. But what we're talking about is the destruction. The governor of Oregon is looking into releasing inmates early, even violent offenders. Here's the thing. There's still riots going on in Portland. And now you want to release a bunch of inmates onto the streets in Oregon? You'd think that would help?
Well, you have a police department that can't even keep order on the streets as it stands already.
They're doing this on purpose.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree. It's calculated. It's extremely calculated. It's pre-planned. And yes, they are doing it intentionally. Mark my words, give it a week, maybe give it a month. But because all the cities, the polling stations were burned down, everybody, boys and girls, you're going to have to just do vote by mail whether you want to or not. I'm sorry, it got burned down. Fuck you.
But moving on. I did see finally the trailer for the new Bill and Ted. Damn, they look old. The premise is shaky. What do you think? You think it's been way too long for them to try and revisit Bill and Ted? It's been 20 fucking years. They both look like they called up the fucking senior citizen home and we're like, hey, do you need to pay for the nursing home? We'll give you a job.
No, briefly saw some of it, and like, nah, dude, you guys are too old. The landscape has changed. The whatever was there is not there anymore. Like it just looks stupid and cringy, and I'm not wasting my money, especially not for has-been Hollywood hacks. Fuck
Well,
'em.
let's be serious. This is Keanu Reeves. He's not a hack. He has been doing the John Wick thing. Are those movies good, by the way? I haven't seen any of them.
Actually, John Wick is pretty good. And I don't have as much disdain for Keanu Reeves as I do for a plethora of other celebrities. But still, I have no interest in Hollywood at all. And so I'm at the point where like I don't care. Too little, too late.
Yeah, it seems like the premise is you were supposed to do a giant concert to unite the world, and you never made the song to unite the world. So these brainiacs decide to go into the future. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They copied the. You should, if you've seen it, you'll remember because they copied the Doctor Who phone booth.
No, I mean the original Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is a good movie, but it is in its own way kind of a period piece. I don't think it fits into the modern socio-political landscape, and it feels like they're forcing it to try to fit in, and it doesn't have the same kind of aloof comedic, herp to derp feel that the original had, and I'm not excited for it. I don't really know what else to say about it. It looks like someone somewhere ran out of ideas.
Well, we both know they've ran out of ideas. I mean, we were talking about B movies earlier, and we might be doing a review on some B movies in the near future. We couldn't get Rabbit got phased out, and we couldn't get the new thing to work. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But the B movies seem to have better ideas, right? Like,
dude, I'm not gonna lie. I wanna watch and review that vampire motorcycle one because that just sounds so incredibly stupid in the best possible way.
Oh, I know, right?
For the audience, I'll just tell them real quick. It's a bad motorcycle. It doesn't run on petrol or gasoline. It runs on blood. And oh, by the way, the the protagonist's poop in a toilet talks to him at some point in time, according to the description.
That just sounds awesome.
It sounds so stupid. Like there's a vampire motorcycle, and also Mr. Hanky has a guest appearance. Like, are you kidding me? I'm not gonna lie, dude. I actually really do want to watch that and review it. It just sounds so dumb.
Oh, that's a South Park reference, Dade. But no, yeah, that vampire motorcycle. Also, it's a British B movie. So, does that exchange rate make it a C movie?
I don't know. The pound sterling is actually higher than the US dollar, so B.5.
There's a delay with StreamYards, so yeah. Can't help that. We don't see your messages for a good 45 seconds, I think.
Yeah, it's between like 20 and 40 seconds. It fluctuates.
But yeah, there was some B movies on there that probably shouldn't have been. Leprechaun 3, come on. That's at least a B plus.
And I mean, it's Leprechaun. It's not a good movie, but it's at least well known enough that I don't think it should be on like the list that we were looking at.
Oh yeah, and I skipped by a few that I was like, no, I'm not doing any reviews on King Kong movies. Because anything after the first one, they're all B movies. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know that list. If we got to the top of it, somewhere in the top 10 would be Troll 2. It's like I can't even consider that a B movie at this point in time. Low budget cult classic, yeah, I'll give you that. But with in regards to the other B movies that were on that list, like the fucking zombie chickens or the picnic basket that had the God knows what was coming out of that thing, those are those are B movies. They're not cult classic trash movies.
Yeah, no, like that picnic basket movie looks insane. We're just randomly bullshitting, really. We opened on something a little bit serious, but I am so tired of talking about COVID and riots. It's not even funny. So right now we're talking about B movies, not the B movie.
Oh God, the only thing worse than the Emoji Movie. Actually, no, I take it back. It goes the Emoji Movie, the Playmobil Movie, and then I'll probably drop the B Movie in there as number 3.
Would you consider the Tremors series B movies? I like Tremors.
No, dude, I don't consider I consider those cult classics, but no, not a. I mean, if you look at budget and campiness and cheesiness, okay, yeah, sure, fine, B movie. But no, I consider the Tremor series cult classics, and I love those movies as well. I fucking watched those things. I think I still have the VHS for the first 2 somewhere.
Yeah, I was bored. I was like, how much are VCRs nowadays anyway? So I went on eBay and I'm like, holy fuck, $50 and like $50 shipping. Where are you shipping this shit from? Fucking Antarctica? What the fuck's going on here?
I would be a liar and remiss if I didn't say that I went to a local pawn and electronic shop to try to find a VCR for some of the old VHS movies that I have. And yeah, they're charging like 30, $40 for these things refurbished in good condition.
Yeah, dude, I found a Samsung one for $30. I'm like, hey, Samsung, it'll match my phone, right? And then I look at the shipping and they're like $65. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Dude, that's how they get you. Like $20 for the fragile shipping, I can understand. But like anything above like 2025, like nah, dude, you're trying to play a gotcha game, and I'm sorry, I've been to enough casinos to know what a gotcha game looks like. And I ain't that naive. Nice try. Try again.
But there's a few different vampire movies on the list. You have the Vampire Motorcycle, Vampire Lovers, which seemed to be like a 60s vampire, not, not quite X-rated, but they were kind of in the description saying it's trying to approach that. Like their vampire nymphs. So come on. I mean, I think we're talking Caligula level, probably.
Yeah, we know what they mean by that. And let's be honest, dude, when it comes to B movies, there are 3 topic genres that are the stereotypical cheesy, campy, pseudo erotic, and it's always zombies, vampires, and aliens. Like that's what every aspiring film student does as uh their claim to fame, their Sundance Film Festival, the thing that they want to put their name on the map with. It's always one of those 3.
Yeah, and they had the old school Blob movie on the list, which I don't think that should be on there. That's a classic.
Again, cult classic. And I don't care what anyone says. I like the old school Blob movie. Same thing with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. If you disagree with me, I don't care. You're wrong.
Oh yeah, or like Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, dude. Okay, now Revenge of the Nerds was good. Right? That was intentionally cheesy, intentionally campy, and intentionally trying to be a very uh, targeted demographic, and it worked perfectly in all three ways. That was actually that self-awareness done right. Revenge of the Nerds, no, that is not a B movie. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, maybe the sequels.
But you can say that about a lot of sequels.
What was the immediate sequel? Was it is that the one where the dorks are against the nerds? It's like a civil war.
Bro, I don't even remember. But let's be honest, dude. The landscape of Hollywood films during the 80s and early 90s, it was all about that campiness and cheesiness. Like that was kind of the MO.
Yeah, no, and I saw this review on Dusk Till Dawn, right? And they brought up a good point. Once again, it was by Cinema Massacre, which he rebranded. It was the Angry Video Game Nerd. So I'm sure you've seen his stuff. I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm really hit or miss on his stuff. Like
I don't know. I think he's pretty funny. But that's neither here nor there. They brought up a good point. So the beginning of Dusk Till Dawn, right? It's not a vampire movie at all. It's a crime movie. You know what I mean? And it could have
yeah,
stuck. It could have stuck to that. But then there is Selma Hayek and Quentin. Oh, this is funny. I guess this was in the commentary. They said I haven't seen the commentary, so I don't know. But I guess Quentin Tarantino wrote the movie, right? So he wrote in the whole foot thing where he's like sucking on Selma Hayek's toes and shit.
Shut up, that line.
And George Clooney is like, "What the fuck, there, Quentin? You write in, you fucking and your weird foot fetish shit, and I gotta fight a mutant rat. Like this is bullshit."
I mean, he's not wrong. It's not an inaccurate hot take, dude. Like, if you see a Tarantino movie that doesn't somehow manage to shoehorn in a foot fetish, then how?
Right? Like, we get it, Tarantino. We understand you like feet.
Yeah, it's like we know, dude. You're putting it on display every chance you get. We know. Like, can you go back to making movies and not shoehorning in your fucking fetishes? Like, come on, bro. That's what Pornhub is for.
Oh, I'm just glad it's not anything weirder than feet. Could you imagine?
Bro, you let's be honest. You know that he probably has some way weirder fetishes than just feet. He just can't put them on the big screen.
He's like, get out the nipple clamps and the fucking car battery.
Oh, dude, if that was the extent of his fetishes, I would actually be surprised. I'm sure it gets weirder than that.
God damn. Tarantino's a weird bastard.
He really is. I I don't want to. If I saw Quentin Tarantino walking into a gas station and buying a cup of noodles and 2 hot dogs, I wouldn't want to ask. I just leave it alone and don't tell me.
No.
You do you.
Nope. Dade, Pulp Fiction is not foot fetish free. If you remember, there is that line where they say that this dude got thrown off the balcony for giving Marcellus Wallace's wife a foot massage. Feet are mentioned.
Yeah, no, it was subtle, but they did still somehow manage to sneak in the foot fetish thing there, and yes, it was a foot massage thing, and that's why Marcellus Wallace was pissed and got that guy killed. Nope, Tarantino still found a way. Although I haven't watched Kill Bill Part 2 because I thought the first one was absolute trash. Did he sneak in a foot fetish into Kill Bill or Inglourious Bastards? Because I don't remember.
I would have totally made Hitler have a foot fetish. Like I would have wrote that shit in. Like just
actually
one
that
scene,
that would have been funny.
To Ava Braun and Hitler.
No, Dade, I'm sorry. You're gonna lose this one. It was a euphemism for sex. That's why it's a foot fetish. It is a fetish. It's a kink. It's a turn on.
Yeah. Tarantino wants a foot job.
It's supposed to be overtly sexual. That's why it's there. Not everybody looks at it that way because not everybody has a foot fetish, especially not the sole connoisseur Quentin Tarantino. But it's not just a euphemism for sex. It's openly supposed to be something sexual. It's a fetish. It's Tarantino, dude. I'm sorry, Dade. I'm calling you out on this one. It's sexual. It's a fetish. Whether you want it to be or not.
And I have my own theory for Reservoir Dogs. Mr. Pink had a foot fetish.
Okay, how? I have to ask, how did Mr. Pink have a foot fetish? What leads you to this conclusion?
Because it's that one fucking dude that rides the nuke in Armageddon. He's just weird. He has to be the one.
But is there anything in the film that backs up your theory?
No. Absolutely not. I tried to reach too. I'm like, come on, I can think of something.
And see, the fact that you even bring that up, and what's up, by the way, what's up, Yorkie? But
good morning.
Morning, bro. Yeah, I have to ask though, or not ask, but I'm just disturbingly curious. I want to go back and watch Reservoir Dogs and see if there's any suggestion as to a foot fetish in that movie in any way, shape, or form. Because I'm sure there probably is one hidden in there.
You're going to be hunting through every Tarantino film. Quentin Tarantino's foot fetish counter.
Well, I know with... Sorry, go ahead, Yorkie.
I'm just going to say, with the way you guys are talking about it, sounds like you two have a bit of a problem yourselves. And you're just using Tarantino to mask it.
Oh, no, I can't stand feet. I think it's not my thing. No. What I'm more impressed with is that even in films that you wouldn't think it's overtly, he still manages to sneak it in. Like, if you look at the... what is that Grindhouse film that he did? Death Proof, I think was the name of it. The one where it's like the stunt car.
It was Death Proof and Grindhouse, right, or whatever.
Yeah, it was the Grindhouse film. There was Planet Terror, and then there was Death Proof. And in Death Proof, you know how he snuck in the foot fetish? The very ending scene where the three girls are all kicking the dude before they kill him. That's the foot fetish. That's how he subtly pushes it in. Because, and if you don't believe me, go back through and watch it, and then we can debate about it. The camera, even if it's ever so briefly, zooms in on their feet, whether they're wearing boots or high heels or whatever else. That's what the emphasis of the shot is.
You know,
so even in that movie, he managed to do it.
You know who I was getting this guy mixed up for? Dan Schneider, who produced a lot of kids shows, because I remember hearing a while back he also kept putting all that sort of stuff into his productions, but they were all kids shows and stuff, so that was a lot creepier.
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's definitely on the weird side.
And I remember who this is. I'm not going to mistakenly call him Magic Bollocks. What's up there, nerd?
Hello.
So yeah, I was looking over a list of the 100 best B movies, And yeah, we found one that we're gonna review. Motorcycle, or is it vampire motorcycle or motorcycle vampire?
I think it was Vampire Motorcycle. Which I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually rather looking forward to watching that just because it sounds so ridiculously absurd. It's like that movie Rubber about the killer tire. It just sounds so stupid you have to watch it.
Yeah, I have
let's
actually
be honest,
been looking for that.
it doesn't sound any stupider than The Last Jedi, so
Oh, don't even get me started on that topic of conversation. And I'll just openly state this. Have you guys seen the movie Rubber, the French film about the killer tire?
No, but I've been wanting to.
I haven't seen it, but I like Maximum Overdrive, where the semi trucks come alive and hunt the people down and kill them.
Oh yeah, based on the Stephen King novel. He has something about possessed sentient cars that go murderous. No, you would actually like the movie Rubber. It's an absurd premise, but it's actually pretty fucking good. It's really amusing. Like,
well, I actually used to be a tire fitter, and I can tell you right now, tires can kill.
oh, all right. So, without really spoiling the movie, I'll just tell you the one scene that made me realize, okay, this is actually stupid but brilliant. The tire is just under its own momentum somehow, rolling down this fucking street in what looks to be like Arizona or Nevada or something somewhere. And it comes up to like a motel. And there's like two stupid looking, Humpty Bumpkin college kids getting into a fucking car. And I guess the tire doesn't like this. So it starts like shaking, like vibrating, like someone put a fucking dildo inside the damn thing. And then these two college kids just explode for no reason. It's just the tires start shaking and they blow up.
Look, I almost choked on my fucking sandwich.
Bro, it's so dumb. Like, I don't think they ever actually really explain why this tire. I think it comes from like a junkyard or something too. Like, it's not even like this tire came off of a rim or something somewhere. It like comes out of a junkyard, and just starts rolling down the fucking highway under its own fucking locomotion, and it just starts killing people.
I have to say, the more students that die, the better. Because let's be honest, students these days. Bleh.
I got a theory. I haven't even seen the movie. Check it out. Freddy's Dead. Remember that Freddy Krueger movie? I believe it's the fourth one. I think Green Master is number 3.
I've only ever seen the only Freddy Krueger movies I've seen is the very first one and Freddy vs. Jason.
Okay, well, in this one, at the end, they kill Freddy in a junkyard. Freddy possesses the tire. Huh?
You know what?
Shit.
I'll actually give it to you because I don't know the motivation or inspiration for this, but you know what? I'll give that to you because that's a better explanation than I've been able to come up with.
Or it's a tire off Christine.
Oh,
yeah.
Now we're here theorizing about the origins of a fucking killer tire.
Well, let's be honest, it's still more reasonable than what's going on in the world today, so,
Yeah,
I
Doku,
don't disagree.
Doku, at what point did you turn all of us into Malkavians?
I don't know. I just tapped into your inner insanity. Something I have a talent for, apparently.
Yep.
Oh, so I got my autograph of Jonathan Franks, and it has a certificate of authenticity. And what's weird is they put what they call DNA. I think it's just a tab inside the picture that the authenticity people can scan to prove that it's an authentic signature. That's really weird. My other photo didn't have that, so. But it can't. The picture is the scene from First Contact where Riker shows up and Deanna's wasted, It's
Well,
the picture of
it's
them
not-
at the table.
it's not that weird. I've seen autograph photos where people will dip their finger in the like the ink damn it, I forget what it's actually the proper term is. But like the spongy inkwell thing that you can do when you like do a thumbprint. Like I've seen stuff like that on autographs before just to prove authenticity. So it's not the weirdest thing in the world.
Well,
No, I think the weirdest thing in this world is why the fuck you would want it in the first place.
That's Dodge.
because
I can't answer that one for you.
Yeah, I already have quite a few autographs, so yeah, kind of getting a collection going.
After what he done to fucking Picard, you're still going to support the cunt.
He didn't get any money out of this. Somebody else had already paid him. But this item has been examined by one or more PSA DNA authenticators, and it is our opinion that the item is genuine. The item has been permanently marked with invisible ink that contains a strand of synthetic DNA. It just seemed weird to me.
It's a little bit on the 1984-ish side, but I can understand if you're trying to authenticate something, then okay. It doesn't seem any weirder than trying to if you're trying to prevent forgery or something. So,
and this is weird too. It almost makes me think it came from the same convention as my Jadzia Dax autograph, because they use the same fucking gold pin. Or do they use that at every convention? I've never been to one before.
No, it's usually a personal choice by whoever's signing the memorabilia. There, I can't talk. Fuck me, you know what I mean. Memorabilia. There we go. So maybe that was a theme for the convention. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed weird because Terry Farrell, hers is in the same gold ink.
So maybe it's quite possible the convention handed out pins and that was part of the shtick. Because they do novelty shit like that all the time.
It would just be weird though if it was signed at the exact same convention. I mean, that would just be odd. Because I bought both items from eBay,
It would be circumstantial, but I don't think it's really that uncommon. Because I know a lot of actors, voice actors, artists, writers, screenwriters. They do kind of have their own kinks and quirks and general habits. So maybe that's a thing amongst the crew. Maybe it's an inside joke where they all use the same gold Sharpie or something.
But and I still have 2 episodes left to finish in Picard, nerd. So I do want to do a overall review of Picard. So I don't know how far you got.
Dude, it just shows you haven't been watching my fucking channel then, because I had my full 10 episode series review out like 3 weeks ago.
You haven't been popping up in my feed. Have you even put anything up in the last few days?
Not in the last few days, but I have been putting stuff up.
Wait,
yeah. I'm going to have to check and make sure I'm still subscribed, fucking YouTube. Because, you're not popping up in my feed at all.
Yeah, that means I'm going to have to check now as well, because, it's YouTube. And Man Ray of Hope in the chat, he says to you, Yorkie, now that he sees you, he knows he's in the right place.
Spank to pregnant Anne Frank? What?
Okay. When it comes to B movies, nerd, that motorcycle or vampire motorcycle is actually a British movie. So we were discussing the exchange rate. So if it's a B movie and it's from Britain, does that make it a C movie, or does that make it like a B, B plus?
I've just figured out which movie you guys are talking about. It's from the 1960s or 70s, isn't it?
I think 85. Or no, it is 60s or 70s, because I had found a different one that we were going to review that was an 80s one. No, this one is in the 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know the one you're talking about. Actually, the bike is more demonic than vampire, if you know what I mean.
Interesting. False
All right.
advertisement.
I'm casting my vote for Vampire Motorcycle. I've got to watch this now.
Well, I'll see if it's on Amazon Prime. We'll hunt down Vampire Motorcycle.
Yeah, but see if we're going to the high seas.
I mean, hell, if we can't watch it on like one of the group share apps or anything, I'll watch it on my own accord, and then when you're done, we can go ahead and just do a review for it. 'Cause between this and the zombie chickens, like,
Actually, if you want a good B movie, that's stupid. Watch Black Sheep. It's a New Zealand film
I've heard about that one.
about cannibal sheep.
Wait,
cannibal
sheep. So they're hunting down other sheep? So
No,
this is
they're
like
man-eaters.
the sheep are hunting down humans.
So they're man-eating sheep.
Yeah,
but they're herbivores.
not these ones.
Not anymore, apparently. Well, I gotta give them credit for originality. That is not a premise I think I've ever heard of before.
I will say it is meant to be a comedy, but I wouldn't class it as comedy. I would say a mild chuckle at best.
The fuck did Hyper just send me now?
I
Apparently a drunk black guy tried fighting a police officer and nicked his taser outside of a Wendy's.
Oh, yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and fill you in on what happened. There was a dude in front of a Wendy's who was apparently a felon that got into an altercation with one of the Wendy's employees. The cops got called. He apparently punched one of the cops, got handcuffed, broke out of said handcuffs, managed to steal the cop's taser, tried to tase the cop, and then ended up getting shot. And now the Wendy's is on fire, and they've shut down, protesters have shut down its I-8 or I-9, and also not I-5. Because, standing in the middle of a freeway is a good idea.
Well, just as an outside bystander, it sounds like he fucking deserved it.
Well, me and Dodge were
attacking a
talking
cop, breaking out of cuffs, which is resisting arrest, attacking a cop, stealing his taser, which is, theft and all that kind of stuff. And just if you don't want to get shot by the cops, here's an idea. If they tell you to lie down and put the handcuffs on you, do so. There you go. Yeah. No more.
Me and Dodge were talking about this
Toku,
in the back channel.
In a second. You guys keep going. I'm gotta step away, use the restroom, and tell my daughters to go to bed because I think I hear them back there talking.
Gotcha. So yeah, now that you guys kind of know what happened, again, altercation with apparently a convicted felon. I don't know. I'll wait for the official report before I make judgment. But apparently the guy was already a convicted felon. Got into an altercation with an employee at Wendy's. Cops got called. This is the mayor of Atlanta said that the escalation and use of lethal force was unwarranted, and I'd say that's BS, and here's why. So not only did you punch the cop, and the cop decided to not use less than lethal force against you, you end up getting handcuffed. You break out of said handcuffs. You're already now clearly a threat. You now have managed to take the cop's taser. and tried to use it against one of the officers. So, escalation of force. What the hell do you think is going to happen when you try to subdue an officer who has not used force against you to that extent yet? What do you think is going to happen? Let's say he actually managed to effectively use the taser against the cop. Are you going to sit there and honestly tell me that this crazy son of a bitch, who already punched a cop, broke out of handcuffs, and stole his taser, wouldn't go up to that officer and take his gun and try to shoot the other one? This is how escalation of force occurs. You're now clearly a threat deserving of the use of lethal force. It's unfortunate that you got shot in a way that resulted in you losing your life, but it's also not unfortunate that you didn't steal the gun and then could have gone batshit crazy and killed not only one officer, but the other one and however many other people you randomly might have decided to use the rest of the ammunition on.
Well,
by the way,
let's be honest.
By the way, if you kill the second officer, you can take his handgun too and now kill even more people. No, I think in this situation, you're kind of asking for it.
Well, it's like this, Duke. It doesn't matter what happens now, because anytime, even if a black suspect is literally shooting at the cops, there'll still be riots over it. Because the simple fact is that the people protesting this incident don't want any black people held accountable for any of their actions. That's what they want. It's not about this. They just don't want to be held accountable for their actions.
Yeah, they're just looking for friggin' excuses.
No, and you're not wrong. It's like even if I'm not wearing the uniform, it would be the same type of situation where if I was open carrying and some dude who seemed either crazy or high on drugs or just looking to start shit tried to run up and grab the weapon that was on my hip, I'm probably going to stab you as you're trying to do so, and if you continue to try to cause problems, then I'm probably going to pull my weapon and shoot you. It's the natural escalation of force. I'm surprised the cops didn't shoot him when he broke out of the handcuffs and went for the dude's taser first. Granted, maybe there was a time delay in pulling the weapon and taking aim so that there was no collateral damage. That's possible, but it seems like the cops are trying to be rather reserved in this situation because the guy was definitely not cooperative. But I don't see how you can look at the situation and go, this is police violence and unnecessary use of force. The dude punched a cop, broke out of handcuffs, stole a taser, and then tried to use it against one of the officers and got shot. You're telling me that's unreasonable? I don't know, man. I'm not buying it. And I get what you're selling, and I think it's overpriced, and I ain't buying. But you guys are both from across the pond. What do you think? Is my assessment of this unreasonable? Is this an American perspective? Or
No, I agree with you. Like, it's one thing if you had just punched the cop and they had, took out their nightsticks and, whacked them about the head till he stopped trying to punch them. I would have been okay with that. But the fact that he not only punched them but stole their weapon. You steal a police officer's weapon, even if it was a taser. As you said, you're a threat. Once you do that, you cross a line. And anything that happens to your dumbass is 100% on you. It's that simple.
Oh, and there's going to be... Well, actually, before I go, Yorkie, what's your take on this situation?
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, no, I tend to be in agreement because again, and this is what people will never talk about because they'll say, "Oh, well, there was a second officer on the scene. He could have used his taser. He could have used mace to try to subdue the person. Yada yada yada." You'll hear people bring that kind of crap up. The dude has already managed to get out of handcuffs after punching a cop and stole the officer's weapon. Do you think that you're going to run the chance of not only having your partner potentially get subdued, which could result in his weapon being stolen from him, but then having a now lethal weapon in the hands of a person who is willing to punch a cop after breaking and then break out of handcuffs and then steal the weapon from him? These things don't happen in slow motion in the way that people say they think they do. No, you have to make a decision right there on the spot. This guy is a threat. If he manages to get his hand on the other officer's gun, the other officer is going to have to shoot him one way or the other. And who's to say that the dude wasn't actually trying or going for it? Because he was approaching the cop aggressively if you find the video and you watch it. So what are you going to do? Not only is he a threat to you and your partner, but he's a threat to everybody else around him. The guy's crazy enough to steal the cop's fucking taser. Do you think he's not crazy enough to steal his gun and start shooting up the Wendy's? I'm sorry, dude. You got to think about it from the perspective of the officers as well.
Well, that's enough of that anyway. People are going to protest over everything they see as, well, anything that affects anybody that's not a white person, I guess. I mean, at this point. But then again, as I say that, I remember I just saw a story where they're protesting Gandhi statues. So I think they're all over the place at this point. I mean, there is an argument to be made that Gandhi was racist. Because he believed in the caste system. He actually believed in serfdom, which is pretty much slavery. So there is an argument to be made there, but they're not even educated enough to make that argument. They're just saying it's another statue. At this point, John's bad.
The other thing that needs to be pointed out, and I don't know what statue this was in relation to, but I do know what happened. This happened in England, where someone interviewed two protesters who are of a certain regional ethnicity, and they asked, why do you want to tear this statue down? I don't know if it was Churchill or Gandhi. I'm gonna guess Gandhi, and they said they didn't even know who he was. I think at this point in time, it's just emotions are so charged. And there's so much social discourse going on that people just want to burn it down for the sake of burning it down. They don't even know why. They're not thinking about it. They're just caught up in the emotion of the situation. So they just, like good little sheeple, they just hop on the bandwagon and go ahead and do it because they want to.
Well, this is exactly why the mob rule is bad. Pure democracy will not work. Pure democracy is the mob. And no, you can go ahead. I mean, that's as good a spot to stop my thought process as any.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to make the point. That's the reason in the United States we're a representative republic, and we have this thing called the Electoral College, because if I don't care who wins the popular vote, tell me how a few million people living in New York City are representative of, a handful of, corn and soybean and sorghum farmers in Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana, and Texas. The short answer is they're not. The long answer is not only are they not representative of the interest of those people, they don't even understand the lifestyle or the culture in those states. We live in a very fucking large country. You have to understand, Nebraska is not Illinois. Illinois is not New York. Oregon is not Virginia. And Florida is not California. A direct democracy is what led to the fall of most early democracies. It's because it is mob rule. That's why it's split up to being a representative republic. Illinois has a say. And their electorate is based on on their population. California has a say. It's based on their population. Virginia has a say. Florida has a say. Oregon has a say. Oklahoma has a say. Kentucky has a say. they all have a representation within the larger federal government, but that doesn't mean that is indicative of how much power each state holds, because that's why we have the House and the Senate. That is the legislature. Then we have the executive branch, what they want to be the mob rule. But even then, the president doesn't have supreme tyrannical power, because let's look at what's happened over the past 2 years, ever since the House flipped blue. It's been nothing but undermine and obstruct. So you want to call the Don a dictator? Well, I think the past 2 years have proven that argument is fucking stupid. And then you have the third branch, the judicial, which, to the best of their abilities, is upholding the Constitution and trying to determine whether the actions of both the legislator and the executive are legal to begin with. And even that still has a basis on both a local, state, and federal level. So I'm sorry, this argument of, popular vote, we're a democracy, this and that, we should abolish the Electoral College, is dumb. And it just goes to show you how poorly educated our own citizens here in the United States that are trying to vote and advocate for these things. And it's disturbing to think that these people can actually vote while being so horribly uneducated about why we have a division of power. Advocate for this crap. You're calling the Don a dictator while advocating for a system that will allow a dictatorial power to take shape and never be relinquished in perpetuity. That's what these idiots are advocating for, and they're too stupid to realize it. And what's up, CSG?
I was just about to say, welcome to CSG.
Oh, well, no, Yorkie, you go ahead. Give CSG a warm welcome.
Welcome. It's a shit show, as always.
Yorkie, you sound so disinterested. Do I need to send you a Red Bull?
3 of them, please, with Jaeger.
Well, apparently your gargoyle needs wings, since you glide as well as a rock. So I'm gonna have to send you at least 12.
Fair enough.
I'm just giving you shit, dude.
Oh God, imagine a gargoyle just shit-faced.
I don't want to imagine that.
But I don't know. I'm not really in the mood to dwell on that topic, which is why we were talking about movies there for a little bit. Nerd, voice, whatever you want to be called, as long as you're not a goddamn symbol. What's the best Star Trek movie out of all of them? Which one would you say is the best? And Doku, I know you don't know much about Star Trek, so this will be
If you don't say First Contact, you're dead to me.
It's the motion picture.
Oh no. All right, I'm going to step back on this one. I'm going to let Nerd and Dodge go back and forth on this.
Why the motion picture?
Because it's the most Star Trek film.
I don't necessarily agree. I think Con is better than the motion picture, and I think First Contact is the best out of all of them.
So basically, instead of choosing a movie where the Starfleet officers actually act like Starfleet officers, you're choosing a film that became the biggest meme in the world and an action movie in space. Right.
Why can't Star Trek be action? There's no rule written down that says Star Trek must be boring as shit. I don't remember reading that rule.
Okay, right. Every single episode of Star Trek, no matter if it's the original series right up until Voyager. I'm sorry, I don't count anything after that. Every single one, they always use their minds to fix the problem first. Violence is always the last thing they do. That's a Star Trek movie. That is Star Trek. You know,
Yeah.
if you think Star Trek is an action show, are we watching the same show?
I never said that, but you don't negotiate with the Borg, and they set that all up in continuity. So that's
And I
why
was
Contact is
Yes, and that's why it's an action movie in space. I mean, and what do you mean you don't negotiate the Borg? Janeway did it numerous times.
Oh, fuck her. Fuck her.
Oh,
Janeway.
you actually get fucking proof that you can negotiate with the Borg, and it's like, well, fuck her. It's probably because she's a woman. What a fucking sexist you are.
No, it's not because she's a woman. Is that what I said?
I don't know what you fucking said.
It's confirmed. Dodger's a simp.
No, it's not because she's a goddamn woman. You know what it is? It's because she changed all the time because she was sad a couple of her friends fucking died. Psycho.
Yeah, because it wasn't like, you know, in Generations, Picard changed the entire timeline.
Did he?
Well,
Not
Huh?
No, not necessarily. Because
Yeah,
he went
actually, he
to an
did.
artificial
No,
never
remember,
cloud.
the entirety of that solar system was wiped out. So he went back, he went and changed it so it survived. He changed the whole thing. So he did the exact same thing Janeway did.
Well, real quick in regards to First Contact and what Mr. Hillbilly over here is saying, isn't trying to negotiate the Borg or with the Borg in First Contact exactly what led them to the situation where violence was the only resort they had left?
When did they try negotiating with them in First Contact?
Yeah, gotcha. When did they try to negotiate? Data tries to negotiate before he goes all loopy because she gives him skin and blows him.
No, that wasn't negotiation. He was already captured. He was a prisoner at that point.
Yeah, but he's trying to negotiate with her and talk his way out
For
of
his life, not for the fucking universe. Jesus.
No, he was trying to get everybody else freed.
Let's say he was trying to find common ground, or he was acting as an envoy or an ambassador, but wasn't the approach of trying to have peaceable relations with the Borg what led to the climax of that movie, where they had to fight the Borg because peace was not an option? You will be assimilated.
No,
Yes,
no, not necessarily, because they come into a fight. Voice has a point here. And so they swoop in, and they're like, save the Defiant, which is, Worf is about ready to fucking die. They beam Worf over. Then Picard takes over. Everybody attack this spot. And they blow the fucking cube up. And then out goes the sphere. And they chase it down, and they're caught in the temporal wake. And they go back to the past.
No, hang on. They're not caught in the temporal past. Picard orders them into the temporal rift.
That is true. Yes, that's fair. I thought the first time I saw it, I was younger, so I thought he ordered to pursue, but
that's what he did.
Right.
He ordered to pursue. He didn't get trapped in it.
But I mean, they already started in battle. So what? You go from a war footing to please don't assimilate us? Is that your solution?
No, well, you see, that's why it's not about what happens in the movie. It's the fact that the movie was written like that. It was written like an action movie, not a Star Trek movie.
Well, and real quick, just to be a little bit contrarian, isn't it inherently a theme of Star Trek to explore the ideas of humanity and how people might act in a stressful situation, whether their actions are well-reasoned or well-justified? That seems like a rather Star Trek theme, whether the movie is written as action or not. I think that plot point is very Trekish.
And they had a good character building moment where Picard loses his shit. I know everybody makes fun of it now, right? Because he goes over the top. No, the line must be drawn here, no further. And and he shatters the glass, and she goes, "You broke your little ships." Fucking.
Well, actually, that's one of the worst things in that movie, because in 7 series of TNG, he was never a warmonger, but come the films, all of a sudden he's a warmonger.
Again, I have to ask the question, isn't that a distinctively human flaw to be caught up in one's emotions and let that lead you to making bad decisions that then negatively influence those that
No, because that wasn't Picard. Because
Well,
the whole reason Picard was Picard is because he didn't lose control of his emotions. He was always, okay, let's do this very calmly. Okay, this is happening over here. What should we do? He was never just...
So then again, being contrarian, doesn't that show to another side of Picard's character where he's not infallible or not perfect, and he can succumb to those same types of emotions and make really bad decisions that put his crew and potentially the entire Federation at a precarious and rather unfortunate end at the hands of the Borg?
You know what would have made that work better, actually? I still think it was good character building for Picard, and I think you could justify it by saying he had pent up those emotions for so long, actually being in this conflict, and chances are he's going to lose. Chances are humanity is lost. Chances are it's all his fault. I could see him breaking down. I'm sorry, he can't always have this strong exterior. That being said,
funny, the other times he interacted with the Borg, he had the strong exterior. What was different this time?
They were never in a situation where you could have ended the Federation before it ever started.
Well, actually, in the first time to meet them, when Q says, okay, smart arse, deal with this, he doesn't lose it. He's got over 1,000 people on a ship to deal with. The next time is when what do you call him? Data. When Lore takes over some Borg and plans to infiltrate Star Trek as Data. That could have been a real fuck up situation. He never lost it then. You can't have someone be something for 7 seasons, like almost 200 episodes, be this, and then all of a sudden he's now someone completely different. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, so then relevant question.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say would be Picard's breaking point? Like, considering that he's strong and he always tries to find the more negotiable and peaceable result in some type of conflict, what would be his breaking point? Maybe, and I'll agree with this, maybe the character in the movie was a little bit rushed and not well explained. So what situation could you put him in where that persona shifts and he does become a fuck you, fire the photon torpedoes and chase after them and destroy them, no questions asked?
You know what movie I wanted to see? Sorry. Well, actually, first I'm going to finish my thought from before. They should have did this as a DS9 movie. It should have been Cisco on the bridge of the Defiant, and it would have made it a lot more believable when Cisco lost his shit, because that was Cisco. But that being said, the movie I want to see Picard in, 20 years ago, okay, mind you, 20 years ago, Picard gets kidnapped by the brother of the Gnostican that stabbed him and made him get his heart replaced. And they take him to this camp and they fucking make him into a gladiator Picard. And they just fucking shit on him for an hour and a half.
So you want a guy who his character was basically, even 20 years ago, considering he's over 90 now, his character, he would have been 70. Yeah, that would have lasted one fight. And then it would have been over. And Picard would be dead.
Damn it. Okay, 30 years ago? I mean what we got to do this shit?
Yeah, nerd kind of got you on that one. I know it's a technicality, but he got you on that one.
Meanwhile, I'm just sat here like a child, not knowing what the fuck's happening.
Okay, we'll move on from Star Trek though, but after this, nerd. Okay, my idea of Cisco though, that kind of has some merits, but DS9 had just started; they weren't ready for a movie yet.
Well, you see, the thing is, it would hard to have a DS9 movie because you could have easily had a Voyager movie because they're a ship in space. When you're a stationary object, how are you going to make a movie out of that? You can't really go anywhere.
That's why I placed them on the Defiant at Wolf 359.
Well, I wouldn't say at Wolf 359, considering that's where his wife died.
Actually, I'm going to disagree real quick.
The Battle of Sector 001. My bad.
I'm going to disagree with.
Hang on. No. The common sense guy has made a very, very good point in the chat. The only why the movie started was because the mischaracterized Picard as a person chasing the fight, not reacting to it. Perfect point.
I can't disagree there. That is a valid point, and that's probably actually no, I'm not even going to say probably. That is the number one area where First Contact screwed up, because you don't go from character type A to character type B at the flip of a switch, which is why I asked what compelling situation would you be able to put Picard in that would make him go from negotiable and reasonable to warmonger?
He shouldn't. That was the whole point of his character. You can have Cisco become warmonger because he lost his shit all the time. You could even have Archer become a warmonger because he lost his shit a lot of the time too. But the whole reason, that's why even in some of the original series movies, you can't make Kirk or Picard warmongers because they were never actually warmongers.
And that's why I ask, what situation can you put Picard's character in that would result in that and make it believable to the fandom?
Well, you would.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, honestly, I think you'd have to go with one of Maud's ideas since he's so attached to it. You'd probably have to bring up a card from a mirror universe, one that is a warmonger. In fact, that wouldn't be a bad idea. You have Kirk coming from Mirror Universe 2 with a fleet of ships to take over Universe 1, and it's Picard versus Picard. That would be an interesting film or a TV movie anyway.
Actually, I'm not going to lie, that actually does sound like a movie I'd be very curious to watch.
I think the closest Picard got was Skin of Evil, where he had lied his ass off to that being, made a deal, and purposely broke it. That was very un-Picard-like.
Well, actually, no. Did he kill it?
He did something worse. It wanted to die over being alive and tormented.
It wanted to be free. It didn't want to die. It wanted to get off the planet.
Yeah, but
if he had been a warmonger, he would have said, "Okay, fuck you." As soon as they got the Troy back, right, half a dozen high-yield 4-ton torpedoes at the planet there. That's what he would have done if he was a warmonger, but he let it live.
That's fair. I said that was the closest he came to not being Picard in the show, is what I was trying to say. But what made him lie? What made him lie was Tasha Yar dying. Okay, You want to make Picard a warmonger? Back then, when he could have still been a badass. I mean, look at the movie. Okay, you kill Riker, and then you replace him with Tom. I know, cheap ripoff. Fuck off. I don't care. You kill the normal Riker.
Actually,
No,
I'll go ahead and say this real quick. Since I asked you guys the question, I'll give my answer. If you want to shift Picard's character from being the peaceable and sensible Picard to more of a warmonger Picard, you have the rest of his crew and the influence of his crew lead him astray. But do it slowly and subtly. Granted, that's going to require some very good character writing and some very good script writing, but I think that'd probably be the best way to go about doing it if you wanted to hold true to the character of Picard and the series as a whole.
Well, actually, if you want him to lose his shit and become a mass murdering psychopath, all Beverly has to do is say that, Wesley's his kid, and you'll see him go fucking insane.
Oh, God. I'm not even a massive Star Trek fan, and I know how bad that joke is.
Well, Voice, think about it. Beginning, you have him fighting the Borg in First Contact, right? They hit. No, because then they would try and loop around and save him like they did Picard. Fuck that. No, we kill Riker and we killed Beverly. Okay, Riker gets hurt. He goes to the med bay. They continue to fight. Next scene, direct hit on the med bay, and you watch them. You watch the bulkhead disintegrate, and they shoot out into space along with Wesley, just because.
Well, you see, there is a thing you fucked it up, because he might have went mad if Wesley hadn't have been there, but because Wesley's there, well, it's sort of all right.
Oh,
no one likes Wesley.
So we'll save Wesley.
I mean, think about it. At the end of Nemesis, for fuck's sake, Data, who had been his member of his crew for a best part of 20 years, dies sacrificing for his life. And they're all cheery at the end 2 minutes later.
Well, and real quick, Yorkie, you were about to say something.
Well,
I was just moving some up.
Sorry, that's something I'd like to point out. Spock dies. The film ends very somberly. Data dies, everybody's having champagne. Just saying.
I hate that they killed Data off at the end of that movie. That movie, oh man. You see, I own all of them and the special edition. That way I got 2.5 hours of extra shit, even for movies that I don't really like just because they're Star Trek. And that movie pisses me off even more than the Insurrection. And seriously, did you see Insurrection? That wouldn't have made the fucking TV show.
Don't look at me. I'm not defending that piece of shit.
Yeah, I was waiting on you, actually. The only cool thing they did took half the budget, and it was this little fucking weird thing. Remember that little weird animal thing that's all CGI? That took like half the budget, and it's in there for like 10 seconds.
What? An Insurrection? Or Nemesis? Sorry, what we're talking
Insurrection, about? The woman's holding it. And it's like this little thing, and it stops in time or whatever. It's the same scene where she has him focus, and like you can see the pollen coming off the flowers. All that CGI shit is what took a big portion of the budget, and it didn't add anything to the stupid movie.
No, that was a stupid movie. I'm sorry, I can't defend that either.
Oh, dude, that's modern Hollywood. They think pretty lights and flashing colors and explosions. That's what sells movies. Don't worry about the character development. Don't worry about staying true to the franchise. Nope. Pretty lights, big explosions.
You know what would have worked better as a movie than a show? And I thought about this when you brought it up, nerd. Archer, that whole thing, better as 2 movies instead of 4 seasons.
Or better just, shoot the person who okayed the show. Even better.
I disagree still, but whatever. I got you to buy it, so joke's on you.
Don't you worry, I still know where you live.
I know. I'm still waiting on that pound. God damn it. Win a bet 2 years ago.
Yeah. You made me buy fucking the complete box set, which was like 29 quid. So you owe me 28.
Dude, I would say deal if you send it to me, but it wouldn't even work in my shit. Fucking region locked bullshit.
It wouldn't be worth the money to send it to you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's something different. All right. So I was watching a video about the cheapest car that you can buy, right? All right. This thing is on Alibaba or Alibaba, however you say it. Okay. It's an electric car and it's $930 brand new without the batteries. With the batteries, you're looking at $1,300. After you clear customs and pay for shipping, you're looking at about $3,000 total. This is $3,000 brand new. 1.5 horsepower. Okay? So, first off, replace the motor as quick as you possibly can. Go put a Tesla on blocks for all I care. You're going to want to do that. But other than that, this thing was actually made out of metal and shit. I saw a YouTube video on it, and it actually didn't look that bad.
Well, why would I buy that when I can pay $2,500 for an S2000 or an old school 1980s, 1990s Chevy or Mustang?
Oh, I know. I own a Camaro, but check this out. I'm gonna pull it up on Alibaba. I don't even have an account, so it's not like I'm gonna dox anything. So just a second. You want to kill the dead air there, Doku, or are you just meditating, taking a knee?
Do you think I'm the only one here? Is that right? You gonna call me out? No, I mean, dude, my neighbor used to buy S2000s and even those 4-cylinder Lotuses, and he would get them for like $2-3 grand and flip them for $4 or $5K. Why am I gonna buy some random ass electric car from Alibaba? Like, I'm pretty sure if I drove around the neighborhood I'm living in for long enough, I could find a car that's probably more reliable and still made of metal. That's probably cheaper than this thing, and I wouldn't have to worry about customs. I just have to go to the DMV. Yeah, I think it's.
Come on, look at that little fucker.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I literally took dumps bigger than that.
Hey,
Okay. If
that makes a smart car look like. Dude, it looks like a fucking toy car. It looks like something I'd buy from Toys R Us if they were still open.
I know, dude. But check it out, right? You expect that thing to be all plastic and shit. You know what I mean? No, that's metal, dude. That's real glass, curved and shit. It's got LED lights, like aftermarket looking lights on the front. The rack has its own lights. Like, I don't know. They actually tried, I guess.
Yeah, yes, but if more than one person sits in it at a time, you can't go over 5 mile an hour.
Dude, I'm sorry. The only person that would buy that thing is someone who is unaware that Craigslist exists. Hey, are you kidding me?
I was going to say mini-me.
And actually, that might work, but it's neither here nor there. Hey, dude, that thing, it looks like a cartoon. It looks like a joke, and it sounds like a joke. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, no, dude, I'm sorry, I'm not sold. $3,000 for that? No, I could buy.
Come on, that is like top of the line Chinese engineering, my friend.
Yeah, if you can just push it over, it's not a vehicle.
Oh, you should see this hood, man. When they were doing the reveal, like, this thing comes in a shitty ass box. And
it comes in a box. All right, I want to stop you right there. It comes in a box.
It's a big box. I mean, it's a car-sized box.
It comes in a box. Can it fit in the back of an Amazon Prime fucking delivery van?
I don't think so.
Wait, are you kidding me, dude? No, I thought smart cars were bad, but no, dude, I find the very concept of this insulting as someone who is a gearhead. I could buy an S2000 for cheaper. Why would you do this?
Or you could move to Seattle and get yourself a brand new Porsche for free. Just say you're a protester.
As long as I'm in the demilitarized zone. Oh wait, I'm sorry, they call it the autonomous zone. Same shit.
And I never did say hi to Common Sense Guy. What's up, Common Sense Guy? Man Ray, if you're still in there. And then we got Tiger Lily in the chat also. Hello. And yeah, no, this does look like a toy, but no. And you should see this hood, dude. Like, they pop it open, and there's nothing there but like the fucking drive shaft and shit. And it would make a great trunk. But they didn't put a fucking bottom in it. You can just see the ground.
No, dude, I'm telling you, it doesn't look like a toy. That is a toy. I'm just gonna look this up right now. What is the horsepower on one of those Barbie Jeeps? I'm gonna look right now. I'm not joking. I'm actually looking this up.
It seems like something I'd get me for my baby sister.
Oh, come on. This thing's cool. Look at that. It's awesome. Let's get the side view. Yeah. That looks cool, man. Come on, Yorkie. You can totally pick up the chicks in this thing.
It's like a fucking clown car with dwarfism.
Yeah, and like, what are those decals? What is that supposed to be? No, it's pretty cool. The hookups, right, are just a 3-prong fucking regular hookup. I've seen more powerful hookups than this to charge on a fucking Power Wheels. I
could probably run faster than that thing, and I'm a fat bastard.
But nah, man. If you buy like 100 of them, you get a discount. So I should totally open up.
That's even sketchier. That makes it worse.
Yeah, but check it out. That means I could open up a cheap Chinese e-car emporium and sell them to all the hippies.
Oh, Jesus.
I found something else cool at Alibaba, right? So it's a solar-powered ice cream bike. That's right. You buy your own business for $800. It keeps cool with solar power, and it's just a bicycle where you sell ice cream. This site has gold on
Fucking
it, dude.
Jesus.
Pure gold.
I just noticed the site for a second. I thought it said Alabama.com.
This shit's great, man. Like,
right. All right, Dodge. I have to ask you on that car. You said it's an electric motor.
yes.
What's the watt? What's the watt rating on it?
All right, just a second. Let's see.
800 watts.
Yep.
800 watts. I swear that's about the same as my fucking power unit from a computer.
All right. So 1 horsepower from an electric motor is 746 watts. You know how much?
Like 1.15 horsepower.
Yeah, you're going faster than a horse. You're doing good.
All right. To put this in context for everyone, the Mattel toy cars have 500 watt motors. This thing is 1.5 power of a 500 watt toy car you would buy for your kid. It has a Mattel toy car motor. Are you kidding me?
Hey, don't make fun of it.
I'm making fun of it and I'm not apologizing. It has a toy car motor. Dude, there are lawnmowers with more power than this thing. I could buy a riding lawnmower that has more horsepower than this fucking thing.
Oh god, I remember on the show we had a few years back, Top Gear, before it went to shit. It was like the only good show on BBC. The one time on the racetrack, they decided to just get a normal bicycle and strap a fucking jet engine to the back.
Bro, my push lawnmower has 1.5 horsepower. That's 0.1 more than what this car has.
Yeah, but does it have fancy lights and a roof rack?
It weighs less. I could push my lawnmower faster than this thing can do 0 to 10. Bro,
I don't know. I think this could totally, beat my Camaro. I can't even say it.
Dude, I could buy a riding lawnmower with more horsepower than this thing for cheaper. Why not just buy a bike? Why? What's the point?
Just fucking walk. You'll be faster than that bastard.
No, and I bet you anything that Chinese license plate right there probably says "You're an idiot" in Chinese.
Like, dude, seriously, this is a bad joke that someone somewhere thought was a good idea. I don't know what to say about this. It has. Okay, I'm just curious. I need to look this up. What's the horsepower on a leaf blower?
Oh my
Uh,
I'm gonna look it up. I'm not even joking.
It looks interesting though, and fun fact, that's not just a fake pop out on the inside. You can actually mount the spare tire there. Yeah, fancy.
Bro, I could buy a leaf blower that has up to 14 horsepower.
Yeah, but that's using that evil dinosaur blood.
Dude, you know those big like industrial fans that you see?
yeah.
Dude, I can get a 9, 13, 18, and 6 horsepower industrial fan. This thing has I can get a 2-stroke 3.6 horsepower industrial fan that's used to like clear out rooms after you shampoo the carpet.
What if you took okay, all jokes aside. what if you bought this thing without the batteries? So you're going to keep the drivetrain and the brakes and everything and all the wiring, but then you wire in a motorcycle engine.
Dude, that's what they did with some smart cars, where they dropped those 1200cc Hayabusa engines into those things, and they went from being absolute garbage to doing 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Because the thing is, we've been laughing at this thing the whole time, and yeah, I get it, dude. Right? 1.5 horsepower. Get fucked.
But look at the wheels, though. Are you gonna put any more than 10 horsepower on those wheels? Like, no, dude. It looks like the drivetrain might split. You're gonna bend the damn chassis on that thing.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Bro, this thing is a toy car. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no saving it, is there?
There isn't. We can try, but I'm sorry, dude. There's no saving this one. But you know what? Whoever came up with it, more power to you. Because I guess people are dumb enough to buy it.
Was zombie apocalypse and you found this car fully charged, would you get in?
No, I can run faster than the damn thing. The thing's a death trap.
Yeah, but it'd be silent. You know what I mean?
No, I would rather run.
Okay, yeah, that thing looks like if it went over the slightest pothole or even fucking rock in the road, it'll go flying.
Yeah, no. Dude, look at the wheelbase on the thing. It looks like it is a toy car. Oh no. Just how big even are those wheels? Like 10 inches?
I don't know. They are pretty small.
It looks like they're somewhere between 6 and 10 inches. Hey, dude, I feel like I could sneeze and this thing might lose its traction. I don't trust it. I don't trust it, man. I'll go ahead and buy a car from someone who's just trying to sell their 1980s Mustang. I don't trust that thing.
I think, to be honest, I'd rather just get the bus. You know, it's a lot less hurtful to your pride being sat next to some guy who's pissed himself.
I don't know what to say about it. It literally looks like I could pick that thing up and flip it over by accident. Hey, try going to the grocery store and buy a bag of potatoes and some rice. I doubt the thing will even move.
All right, here's the next one up on Alibaba. Now we got solar. So, you know, don't buy this if you live where I live, you know, in the woods where it rains a lot. Don't buy it if you live in the city where there's a lot of shade or smog. I guess it'd be okay in Kansas.
And see, I don't trust this one for a very different reason. You do realize solar panels are extremely flammable.
So this is going to be our gift for MC.
Oh no.
Oh my god, he would totally rock this thing. We'd have to talk him into doing car videos and going on camera. Show off his new car that we crowdfunded for him.
His new solar power car that we bought for him off Alibaba. He would hate us for all eternity. He would never talk to us again.
He'd probably just use the solar panel to charge up his drones to finish us.
MC's new drone control center. Solar powered car from Alibaba. Oh no.
So I think I know what they went for here, right? Look at that profile. That looks like an American car.
No, dude, that looks like a Kia Soul.
Oh, Kia, okay.
Yeah, that looks like a Kia.
But really, it's like a weird Chinese call me Kia.
Dude, why do you think the Chinese are so good but so terrible at back engineering? They can make shit real cheap, and apparently people are dumb enough to buy it. I can't knock them for that.
Yeah, and I noticed with this one, it's really odd too. One, okay, so it's 4-wheel drive. Yeah, where are you doing? Man, I hope that fucking solar panel really charges them batteries if you're out mudding in this thing.
Four-wheel drive? Bro, I'm telling you, what's the name of this thing? What's it called?
Let me look closer. This is... It's a manual. Interesting.
Is it an electric engine?
4-wheel new solar e-car. So yeah, 3.5 kilowatts or the 5 kilowatt version. Ooh, fancy.
Okay, so at least it has more than 1.4 horsepower.
But it's not giving a car. Oh, it's Avilla LLC, AVELLA LLC, are who's selling it. It looks like.
Okay, I've actually heard of Villa before, and apparently India likes them. And what's up? What's up, memes destruction? We're just talking about toy cars on Alibaba.
Yeah, memes.
Oh,
this one I would be concerned because of the quality of the solar panels. Because if those overheat, they can catch fire pretty easily.
well, not only that, but there's only 3 pictures, and they're all exterior pictures. I know the other one didn't have any interior pictures either, but it had more than just 3 pictures. This seems a little weird.
Yeah, I would rather just buy a bicycle. Just throwing that out there.
Well, no, and I'm just looking through these for fun. I have a Camaro, dude. I'm good.
No, and shit, dude, why not just buy an old school Honda or Kawasaki dirt bike?
I found a high-speed electric car. Ooh. Let's see.
Meme said he thought about starting a vape shop using Alibaba. Well, memes, apparently you can sell, we just looked it up. You could start your own electric car company with 1.4 horsepower and start selling your Mattel toy electric cars on Alibaba, and apparently people will pay you $3,000 for it.
So this looks like it's trying to be what, like a Jeep or a Ford Ranger or something?
It still has that distinctive Korean, like Kia type of look to it, but this one at least looks like it's, more well put together. Doesn't look like a toy car, at least. It's more on the smart car level. At least it looks like the door isn't going to fall off if I decide to close it too hard.
So yeah, how much space do you think is actually in there? It looks
really
like I'm looking at it straight through the back here. It looks like it has a rear-facing camera for backing out. It looks like that seat folds up, probably gives you 3 more seats, so 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it looks to be about the same size that you would expect from a smart car.
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, I like that paneling on the doors. That's kind of cool.
Actually, yeah, I won't lie. That's a nice touch. This one at least looks like there was a little more effort put into it. Like they tried to take it seriously. This at least doesn't look like a toy car.
So does
No,
you can go ahead in a sec, Yorkie. I just want to ask this to both of you. And Yorkie, you can go first. But is it just me, or does every one of these cars have tiny ass wheels?
yes. And I was just gonna say, why does it look like it's been in a fucking trash compactor?
Well,
That's kind of how smart cars are looking nowadays, right?
yeah, and the reason they have small wheels like that is because of the diameter on the wheel, and they're usually low powered, especially if they're electric. You need the wheels to be smaller, not only because they have a short wheelbase, but if you don't have enough power going to them, think about it like this. If you had a wheel that was 14 to 18 inches, it requires more power to actually start turning the wheel and get the momentum going. So they use smaller diameter wheels so that they can actually move. It's actually literally that simple. If you put anything bigger on them, you'd have to push it to start.
Okay, they advertise this as high speed. Max speed is 28 kilometers an hour. What is that? Like 20 miles per hour or some shit?
Yeah, about 23 miles or something.
That's not legal. I live on a highway. I wouldn't be able to drive this thing.
Yeah, 28 kilometers per hour. That's actually, you're looking at probably about 20 to 22, maybe 23 top speed.
How are they getting away with selling these? I don't think they're street legal. I mean,
well,
yeah,
in the US, they wouldn't be, but if you go to like certain countries where they don't have the same type of regulations that we have here in the United States, like, look at India or certain Far East, Southeast Asian countries. Now these things are probably selling like hotcakes over there.
Guys, this is gonna piss on the car even more. I've just checked. Turns out Usain Bolt could actually run at 43 kilometers an hour. I just wanted to put that there, just so people can actually outrun that by a good 20, like nearly 20 kilometers.
I mean, again, if you live in Indonesia or Bangladesh or certain countries in Africa, these things might be a godsend for you. In which case, hey, great, more power to you. But I mean, over here in the States, I don't even think these things would be street legal.
Oh, I checked. Actually, turns out no, it's not like 23 miles an hour. It's actually 17 miles an hour.
Oh, so we're giving it too much. Oh,
I could fucking run that fast if somebody pissed me off enough.
That brings up a different question I have. What happens if you're driving one of these things and you end up on a downhill slope? Is the drive shaft even built well enough to withstand that type of velocity, or is it gonna fucking snap on me? Like, I wouldn't feel safe driving one of these things.
I think it becomes a new fucking snow sled.
I'm just concerned that the drive shaft would actually break, or one of the wheels might fall off. Either way, it doesn't seem like a good idea. Unless I'm in Bangladesh or Dali or somewhere in Indonesia or even the Philippines, I don't think I'd be driving one of these.
All right. This is gas powered, so I'm guessing it is street legal. This thing is a 7-seat van made in China. They call it a minivan. It looks like a stretch fucking van, right?
Yeah, it does have kind of a work van look to it. So,
no, not even like a panel van. No, like this looks like they're trying to make it look like a stretch limo, but it's a van. Look at it. Look how long that fucking thing is.
I like how the price goes from $4,000 up to 90.
Yeah, that's questionable to say the least.
Yeah, that's really weird, and it's not giving me a mile per hour or even kilometers.
Maybe it's.
Actually, it's
Are there different models of it?
It has a Mitsubishi engine in it. It's a front wheel drive 4G63T engine version. I don't know what that means though.
That's an engine model number.
Rated
What is
power,
it?
RPMs. Oh, what's the engine version? 4G63T. It's a Mitsubishi motor.
Okay, 4G63T. Give me just a moment. Cirrus engine production run from 1976 to 2013. It's 1.6 liter displacement. And it does have single overhead and dual overhead cam. And it comes with a 2 and a 4 valve. It's carbureted and fuel injection. It can run off diesel or gasoline. It is water cooled. Wow, apparently some people have gotten these things up to as high as 400 base horsepower.
Oh shit. We found a good car on Alibaba.
yeah, you will fork up to 90 grand for it.
Yeah, probably, right? They're like, yeah, you know, that $4,000 version, we stuck a fucking 2-stroke engine in there.
Wow, so in the naturally aspirated form, I mean, I can't speak to what's in the car we're looking at, but the lowest number I'm seeing is 168 base horsepower. So, actually, no, take it back. The lowest I'm seeing is 102. But I mean, still, that's 102 base horsepower. So,
Yeah, no, and it's a van, right? I mean, I'm not expecting 200 plus like my Camaro or whatever, or, you know, 300 horses like the modern Camaros have. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot better than what we were looking at earlier. I mean, gasoline powered. Apparently, they put these in like the very early Lancers from like the 1980s. So yeah, you're looking at a 102 base horsepower engine. So that's I'm not gonna knock it. Although I wouldn't be paying 90 grand for it. But $3,000, maybe.
That's enough with Alibaba. Maybe I'll find something else to look at on there. We'll look at bicycles or something funny next time. It's getting late over there in VA. We hit 2 hours. Anything else you want to talk about, Doku, or should we wrap her up?
I mean, I'm still going. I'm not exactly tired. If you have a topic of conversation you want to jump over to,
One quick thing I was wanting to mention. I don't know how accurate this is because it's just a Reddit post, so it's probably just a shit post, but it seems crazy enough to be true. Apparently, when we switched over to the Gregorian, or however the fuck it's pronounced, calendar in the 1500s, in the translations, we lost roughly about 8 years. So technically, this is the year 2012.
actually, there is some evidence to that because of the Gregorian calendar, where every year we lose. I forget what it is. We lose like 1.4 days or some crap like that ever since it was instituted. So we're technically several years behind if you go by an astronomical calendar.
So you're trying to say that the whole end of the world thing is actually happening?
Yeah. Yeah, because apparently technically by the old calendar, this year is 2012.
I don't know how accurate that is. I do know that the Gregorian calendar does lose. It might be hours per year or it might be days per year. I forget. But
And
the
it does
Gregorian
sound-
calendar, there's a reason. Well, I'll just put it this way: there's a reason we have leap years. It's because the Gregorian calendar is not 100% accurate when it comes to keeping an accurate trace of time. So it's possible.
Yeah, it was probably just a shitpost, but it's kind of scary how accurate that theory might be. Because this whole year's just been that fucking crazy. It almost does seem like the fucking end times.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me because if you look at it's not just the Mayan calendar, but I know it's the Mayan, the early Mesopotamians, and I believe there's a few different iterations of certain
The
Chinese
Hopi,
calendars.
the Hopi and the Navajo. But they probably got the idea from the Aztecs, who got the idea from the Mayans. So there's their root source. But then again, the Hopi talk about going underground and living with ant people. I mean, are you going to believe these guys?
Well, I'm not going to go that far down the rabbit hole. The one thing I will state is that the Gregorian calendar is based on you have 30 days in this month, 29 days in this month. It is very stagnant and staunch in how they separate up the year and the months versus these other calendars that we're talking about. They don't view things in a day by day or week by week or month by month. They view it more on the movement of astronomical bodies, and that's why their calendars are so incredibly different. So if they say it's the age of this or the age of that, like this is where the Chinese zodiac comes from, it's based on astronomical bodies and astronomical movements. It's not based on there's 30 days in the month of take your pick. So it technically is a more accurate way of keeping time because it centers around the movement of the Earth around the sun and celestial bodies. It's not based on a set in stone Gregorian theory of there's this many days. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Gregorian calendar is actually based on a single year interpretation of the sundial. It's not based on the movement of, say, the stars and constellations, which is technically more accurate.
Yeah. I just think it's a funny coincidence. Because, like, I'm tempted to put on a bet that, like, by fucking November, either Cthulhu or Godzilla's going to show up.
Well, and just to touch on the subject a little bit more, what you have to realize is that while, yes, the sun is the largest influential body regarding gravitational pull and rotation in the solar system, there are other celestial bodies that do influence how, even if it's ever so subtle, how the Earth, its satellite, the moon, and other celestial bodies move around the Earth. It's not a 100% set in stone thing. All it takes is one near-Earth asteroid to move close enough to the Earth that it does adjust our movement around the sun, even if it's ever so slightly. So the more accurate way of judging the passage of time would be by looking how the Earth is moving around the sun in relation to other celestial bodies, and not just saying we've gone to 28 days and now it's the month of A to B. So that's why there is some discrepancy in how the Gregorian calendar stacks up to other calendars. But that's physics. That's a physics topic of conversation for a different day. I'll just leave it at this. If the rotation of the Earth, and there's an experiment done, you can go check this out. you can put a clock on an airplane and fly it counterclockwise around the Earth, and then you can put a separate clock on a different airplane and fly it clockwise around the Earth. And once they make one rotation, the clock that's going counterclockwise will actually move a second, fraction of a second slower, and the clock that's flying in the same direction as the rotational direction of the Earth will actually move a fraction of a second faster. And hence why Einstein has his theory of relativity, because time and space are relative to gravitational influences. So hence why accurate calendar and timekeeping is better done by observing the movement of celestial bodies and where they are in the sky, as opposed to sticking to a calendar system that's talking about time and date based on something like a sundial. Because in the long term, you're either gaining or losing time, and it's all relative. Celestial bodies, on the other hand, are far enough away from any other gravitational influence that they're not influenced by gravitational influences of local celestial bodies. That's where the whole thing comes from. I know that's very, very nerdy and scientific, but that's the easiest way to explain it.
Why you go nerdy, I'll go conspiratorial. There's this idea called the lost history. So not only when Constantine called the convention to decide on the doctrine of the Holy Church, they also decided, when they switched calendars, to erase large segments of history. And just, it pretty much went Roman times, Dark Ages, we don't know shit, sorry. And then the new time, and then, on from the Renaissance or what have you. And so supposedly there's like 300 years just missing from the timeline. And if that was true,
that's
it would
nothing
explain a lot.
Well, and that's actually nothing new, because if you look at the Dark Ages and what actually happened, there are only two groups that were actually keeping track of history, and both are related to the church. So it's not a far-fetched or conspiratorial idea to say that the only people who knew how to read and write were either, well, I have to retract. There were three groups. There was the established church. Then there were the monks and clerics who knew how to read and write, but weren't necessarily part of the established Roman church post fall of Rome, pre-establishment of Constantinople. And then you also had groups of people who would eventually become the nobles. So to think that certain elements throughout history were not kept close guarded secrets because they didn't want people knowing about it really isn't a far-fetched idea. Now, where that history and information is now is anybody's guess.
Well, they would argue that it was in the Library of Alexandria, which got burnt to the ground. But the problem with the theory is simple. There was another group writing. They were called the Chinese. And, they took track of the history, and theirs matches up to ours. Our current timeline, at least. Like, they didn't record what we did, but they recorded their own history in the current timeline, and it syncs up.
And even with the argument of the Library of Alexandria, hey, let's just look at the Dark Ages, because when the Library of Alexandria was established, there was still a running practice of, for every manuscript that was written, there was always a backup. And there's historical evidence showing this. Like, that was the whole purpose of being a scribe and a historian. A scribe was supposed to, record whatever the historian recorded with his own eyes and his own words, and then scribe that onto a document that could be read by future generations. There was never just a single document. It was very rare that something like that happened.
Well, no, and you know what's really interesting, since we're nerding out on history here, It's really interesting if you look at then and now. Okay, they were racist. Okay, they hated anything to do with Islam. They still recorded everything they found. They hated Jews. They still recorded everything they found. They hated the Gnostics. They still recorded most of that. And what they didn't record, luckily, we found a portion of it in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But still, follow along very closely. This group of closed-minded individuals who thought that everything was bad. The classics were bad. The only thing you should read is the holy word, the scripture, my friend.
Well, that's because it was considered. That's because if it fell outside of that scope, it was considered heretical. Now,
But the thing is, though, Doku, they still copied it. They still they still handed it down. Now
that's the point. That's the point of a scribe and a historian, is because you shouldn't let your personal beliefs or potential influence get in the way of recording the truth. So scribes and historians were, I guess nowadays we could call it, they had journalistic integrity. And I say that with very tongue-in-cheek.
What I am saying is they shouldn't be, nowadays, everybody is so close-minded, even the education system is saying these ideas are bad and they shouldn't be taught. What? No. Hit the brakes, people. We need to look at everything and come to a sensible conclusion based on the merits of the arguments, because the bad ideas will fall to the wayside, but they should still be talked about. Because if you bury them under the fucking garden in the back 40, they're going to grow and they're going to sprout back up in secret. You kill one weed, two more will appear, right?
Well, and that's the thing. When it comes to these scribes and historians, the reason that they were recording these things without I guess the proper term would be letting their own personal dogma or ideology influence the recording of accurate history. The reason they did this is because if you do not accurately record something, it goes back to the mantra of one who does not learn from history is doomed to repeat it. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't hide it or skew it or twist it in a certain way to try to manipulate the opinions of others. And this is not something new. Case in point, did you watch High Impact's most recent video?
No, I missed that one. I've been watching 60 Days In with my wife. Me and her got into it. Matter of fact, she wanted to watch it tonight. She might be a little irritated with me.
So I'll sum it up in the easiest way possible. Where does the word slave come from? Where does it have its root? Like the root origin of the word?
Slavic.
Yeah, the Slavs. And the Slavs weren't black. The Slavs weren't Chinese. They were primarily what we would call today Caucasian, even though did Western Asian or Eastern European, depending on who you ask. But that's where the original term came from. But let's talk about slavery real quick. What culture on the face of the planet has not engaged in some form of forced labor or servitude?
Well, no, and the thing they never want to talk about, and when you bring it up, they just deflect and ignore, is the white people were not, even during the triangle, they were not showing up and hunting people down. They would pull in the port and they would trade. Why? Because these people were already practicing slavery and had been for generations.
And that's because they were viewed as a good, the same way that we would view.
No, what it was they would go to war, and instead of executing everybody, they would enslave them, kind of like the Romans.
No, I'm talking about the triangle trade. It's not like the evil colonizer came over to Africa and decided to, go ahead and conquer and pillage. No, they were engaging in trade. And one of the goods that was, very abundant was, unfortunately enough, slavery. And it wasn't any different during the Triangle Trade than it was during the era of the Romans or Alexander the Great or the Chinese or the Egyptians. No, every
modern
cult.
Sierra Leone or modern Libya, modern Pakistan, modern Afghanistan. Should I keep going, or have you guys got the point? I know you get the point, but I mean the general public. Should we continue on? How about the United States of America, where we have sex slavery, where you're importing women from China and through the Mexican drug cartels and sending them over the border? Or they're writing fake passports or coming in on fake marriage visas. Okay.
As we were talking about earlier before we even went live, had the Confederate States actually won, guess what? Slavery still would have been phased out. It might have taken longer, but it would have been phased out for a very particular reason. And that's because you could have so many humans, whether they're slaves, indentured servants, serfs, doesn't matter what label you want to put on it. But you could take someone who is essentially cheap labor. But once you start going down the road of industrialization and you start mechanizing certain jobs, I mean, we're even talking about it to this day. Robots are going to replace your job. Why are they going to do it? Well, you don't have to feed a robot now, do you? Yeah, you might have to provide electricity to it, but the robot is usually more efficient. It's probably not going to rebel against you. You might have to repair it from time to time. But in the long run, the mechanized labor, the robotic labor, that's going to be more efficient in the long run than manual human labor, and it's going to reduce the potential of essentially an uprising. So had the South won and gotten a more favorable trade deal with a more industrialized North, which would have happened if the South won, and it ended up happening anyways. Well, guess what? You have railroads going through the South. You have steam engines. You have the cotton gin. You have factories popping up in the South. You're not going to need that many slaves. You're not going to need that manual labor. So, am I gonna pay for 100 slaves to do the same work that 10 could do if I provide them with a cotton gin? No, of course I'm not.
Or what happens when you figure out that people don't like to be enslaved? And if you hire them and pay them a decent wage, they'll be 10 times more productive.
Well, and also then think about this. What happens when the people that I quote have enslaved, what happens when the cotton gin breaks down and I need to find someone who can not only figure out how to fix it, but then train other people to maintain it? Well, guess what? Now you start moving into what happened in the industrial age. And, the quality of living starts going up because they're now more valuable to you. Given enough time, these things will happen naturally and organically. It happened very quick and violently through the Civil War because of the socio-political landscape. But,
no, I don't want to dwell on this topic because we can keep going, but I'm going to end my portion of this topic. You can make your final point in a second, but with the violent outcome that arose from Reconstruction and the war itself, that is where you saw the degradation of race relations for a majority of the South. Were there always racists? Yeah. But there was more in the North at that time than the South because the poor whites were working side by side with the slaves in the field, or they were the overseers, or they were working with them every day. And the plantation owner needed to keep these people happy or they'll kill them in their sleep. That's a strong deterrent to mistreating somebody. And also, what good is an investment what good is an investment if you don't fucking treat it correctly and it doesn't do what you want it to do? Whether that be at that time slavery, unfortunately, or even nowadays. What good is a racing horse if you're not going to feed it and you're not going to train with it and you're not going to put it out to the track? What good is it?
Well, like the point I was making, if a cotton gin can do the work of 10 people, what's more expensive? Paying one person to run a cotton gin, or buying, potatoes and corn for 10 people? The cotton gin is economically more feasible and cheaper.
It's just stupid. Like, this conversation itself is deemed horrible because we have the guts to actually have the conversation. This is history, okay? None of us lived it. None of us were there.
Well, to put my angle in from Brit when it comes to slavery, our empire was probably one of the first to actually say, okay, we've had enough slavery, we'll stop it now. And fuck knows how many times we had to fight another empire over that.
Actually, that kind of irritates me, and I'm going to tell you why. You don't irritate me, Yorkie. Don't take it wrong. But I hear a lot of Brits make that argument. This is what irritates me about that argument. The only reason the colonies ever had slavery is because the king forced it upon us and told us that we couldn't end it. That's why Massachusetts still had slavery during the time of the Revolution, because they couldn't end it. None of them wanted it. That was where the largest abolition movement was for the Revolutionary time. It moved after that. But
Dodge, you have to recognize one point as well. The English Isles are also very, very small by comparison to the United States, and they didn't have the same kind of north versus south mentality, just due to the regional and geographic differences that we had here in the States. And when England started to industrialize, they did it from north to south relatively quickly before they had that type of cultural butting of heads, slavery, so to speak.
Yeah, but the slavery wasn't in the British Isles itself. It was in the colonies. And a lot of colonies, it got thrust upon them, like the North American colonies and the Caribbean colonies, mainly. And that was because of the crops that were being produced and the fact that Europeans caught these tropical diseases a lot easier, and they actually were dying. So you couldn't use indentured Irish to do it. They were dropping like flies from malaria. I mean...
Well, I think that's why the Irish slaves were so much cheaper.
And that's what I mean by geographic differences as to why slavery in certain areas of the world still had a foothold where it was kind of being phased out in other areas. Because again, in the British Isles, slavery essentially became obsolete. It was too expensive and it was inefficient. Industrialization happened so quickly that slavery was just literally not a viable option anymore.
Well, no, and Yorkie, I will give the British people this, okay? The way you did it was brilliant because you bought the slaves, the crown bought them and freed them. And then amended the, I don't think you guys call it a constitution. I'm not sure what it's called, so I'm not going to try.
I think it was the Bill of Rights.
But
it was the English Bill of Rights, yes.
But you guys amended that to outlaw it after the fact. That's how it should have been done in the United States. It would have saved a lot of blood and treasure.
Yeah, how many people died in that Civil War? It was like, what, 600,000?
Over 600,000 servicemen, if you count the civilians of the South. You're hitting over 1 million, probably, slave and civilian alike. And the slaves were civilians, let's be honest. But
yeah.
I think the highest number I've seen, including non-official people fighting to essentially just protect their own land, which is why we have I forget which amendment it is, but you can't harbor military personnel, but people just trying to essentially defend their own land and family. The highest number I've seen is 1.25 million. roughly between 1/4 and 1/3 of the population of the time.
You have to think, you had, especially after the burning of Atlanta, you had a giant caravan of people following the Union Army for the simple fact that their whole city was burnt down and they had no food or nothing. And the Union Army, Sherman was on a mission. He didn't care about these people. They didn't feed them. They left them behind with nowhere to go. And embassy could say total war is total war. That's fine. But after the fact, the Supreme Court ruled that Lincoln overstepped his constitutional right powers, and the war was pretty much illegal. And Reconstruction was definitely illegal.
Well, and see, to make the counterpoint, whether I agree with it or not, the other counterpoint that was made is if you secede from the Union, you're no longer protected under the Constitution of the United States. So the Supreme Court doesn't really have a say.
Here's the thing. I'd be fine with that argument. But on the other end of the Union mouth comes the argument you weren't allowed to leave. You were in open rebellion. You were not your own country. We refused to acknowledge it. Therefore, these were United States citizens. Therefore, your argument's invalid. And this is why you still have historians butting heads over this to this day.
That's the thing. I think the easiest way to explain this argument is if you recognize the Confederate States as being their own sovereign nation that's essentially in your backyard and declare war against them, yeah, they're not protected under the Constitution, therefore you don't have to afford them their constitutional rights. And this is where I think the Union and Lincoln kind of screwed up, where if you go about it from that way, it's like, yes, we're going to declare war against you as a foreign nation, a foreign entity. We'll recognize you as such. You're not afforded those same constitutional rights that the Union has, the United States. Therefore, you're not defended under said articles. Now, you wrote your own constitution, and that's fine. We don't have to adhere to them because we're not part of the Confederate States. And I guarantee you, if the Confederate States had won, it would have been different. And the Constitution presented by the Confederacy would be the law of the land, not the one that the Union upheld.
Well, here's the problem, though. Okay, so if the Union recognized the Confederacy, then Great Britain would have intervened for no other reason than to keep their cotton supply intact and to stick it to the United States. We weren't friends at that time, okay?
Well, that's the thing. We
divided United States.
On Dodge, we still run into this problem today, whether people want to draw the parallels or not, where if a certain country decides to declare its independence, whether it's recognized by the EU or the UN or the United States, that's essentially a make or break. And it's no different today than it has been back when the Civil War very first kicked off. Because if you don't recognize them, then guess what? You're on your own. We don't have to recognize your Constitution. And we will go to war with you if necessary.
But here's the problem. This is where Lincoln committed war crimes. The blockade is illegal. You cannot blockade your own citizens. What you can do is blockade a foreign belligerent that you are openly at war with. You can't have it both ways, though. And Lincoln tries to have it both ways.
And that's why there's a point of contention between historians in regards to this topic of conversation. Because had he recognized them as, not part of the Union anymore, and as essentially an insurgency or an enemy that they're in open war with, yeah, he would technically be justified in what he did. But he did, and you're correct, he did try to have it both ways. And that's where we get into this argument of, well, are they United States citizens? Because you're seeming as far as Lincoln and the Union is concerned, you're still viewing them as their United States citizens, which means you can't afford them the same you have to afford them the same protections. But if you recognize them as being the Confederate state citizens, they're not afforded the same protections. So there is a conflict of interest there that really does need to be. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen because it's happened in the past. But that would clarify things a lot more and make it a lot more cut and dry. I tend to abide by more. Lincoln viewed them as Confederate state citizens and recognized the fact that they were seceding, and hence why he declared war. But if he recognized them as United States citizens, then yes, he was violating their constitutional rights as far as the Constitution goes, which means he was completely out of line. So both sides have a valid argument.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. And this is the last thing I'll say about it. It's interesting because after Jefferson Davis is arrested, Lincoln's assassinated. Jefferson Davis flees. He's arrested. He sits in a military jail, and he wants a trial. He wants to go on trial. He wants to win in court what he lost through force of arms. And the North was so afraid of this, in my humble opinion, and that's the opinion of some other historians as well. Then again, the historians that disagree would call them the historians that prescribe to the lost cause myth. That's how they like to put it, because everything Southern is evil and it's a myth. Not allowed to care about your family history at all. But that's neither here nor there. They were so afraid that an abolitionist from the North paid his bail. He said no. They said, no, we're kicking you out. You're out of here. You got bailed out, and they never took him to court. Are you telling me after this entire war, they didn't hang the president of the Confederacy? Don't you think if George Washington was caught, the British would have had a party and hung him twice?
Oh, would have fucking hung, drunk, and quartered him.
Oh, yeah, they would have did the William Wallace, huh? Shipped him all the way back to London.
Yeah, we would have set an example out of him.
Oh, and that's the thing, Dodge. You have to realize this in regards to Davis. Were the courts to recognize him as being essentially not a Confederate or not a Union soldier? They'd have to.
Doki, real quick, I'll let you finish, man. But you got to remember the context here. He was going to be tried in Richmond, Virginia. A few blocks away from the Confederate White House. They knew they were going to lose this case.
No, I know, and that's where my point comes in. Were they to actually give him a fair trial, they would have to recognize either that A, yes, he was a U.S. citizen, but also was acting in a way that technically is still protected under the Constitution, the one that the Union was trying to protect, which then puts the Union and the way that they acted against the Confederate States at fault because they violated constitutional rights. Or B, they would have to recognize the Confederate States themselves as being something separate and recognize that the right of secession is indeed protected under the Constitution, which means the Confederate States themselves were actually in the right by choosing to secede, and that was within their state rights to do so, and they could form their own union. Either way, the Union loses. So why give them a trial? Because if you take that to court, one or the other decision is going to have to happen.
Yeah, which is why they didn't. But isn't that fucked? Come on.
It's kind of a dick. It is kind of a dick move, and it's why when we bring up the topic of Abraham Lincoln, despite the fact that I don't think he's the worst president that the United States has ever had, that honor is reserved for somebody else. But I can understand why people do not like Abraham Lincoln, and I don't put all of the blame on him entirely, because it wasn't just him that was trying to push this double standard. But it does put you in a precarious situation if you're viewing it from a court of law and a Supreme Court standpoint, because either A, and like I said, either A, the Union is in the wrong, or B, the Confederate state is in the wrong, but then that goes in against the Constitution and states' rights and separation of power and civil liberties, which still ends up resulting in the Union being in the wrong, and by extension, Abraham Lincoln. And again, this has nothing to do with slavery. So YouTube, keep that in mind. We're not talking about slavery. We're talking about state rights, separation of power, and how the Union was supposed to originally be organized. But either way, the Union in this situation would have to admit that they were essentially exercising authoritarian power against states that were voluntarily within the Union to begin with, and that pact, that agreement, was not only abused and taken advantage of by other states, but also pushed the Confederate states to separating from the Union, resulting in their constitutional and state rights being superseded by the federal government, which resulted in a precedent that created the authoritarian system that we have today, where, for example, why can weed be legal in Colorado and California, but yet somehow I could be arrested for smoking weed despite the fact that it's legal in my state, because the ATF and the federal government decides, no, my power supersedes yours.
Yeah, and on one last note before we get out of here, Yorkie, I saw there was some protests yesterday in London. You guys are quite irritated about the removal of a Winston Churchill statue. You have people like good old Tommy out there raising hell and doing his thing. Do you think that you guys are going to go the way we are and these statues are going to keep being removed? And how far are they going to go in your country? Are they going to, take a wrecking ball to the Tower of London?
I'm not sure how far it's going to go, but I mean, people are already going, even normies and, the more moderate liberals, even they're losing their shit at the fact that war memorials are getting desecrated. So Antifa and BLM are just shooting themselves in the foot again and again. And a lot of football hooligans have actually started defending statues now. So that's going to be fun for Antifa.
Yeah, actually, I watched Sons of Confederate Veterans had a meeting in Florida the last few days. And I shared it with you, Doku. I hope you actually watched it. I get it. It's just a meeting. It's kind of boring. But they have a lot of good info in there, and they're organizing people to go out and defend these monuments and graveyards now. So Sons of Confederate Veterans and the good old boys are organizing. And that's never necessarily a good thing, because the Antifa fucks, they can't really fight. So it's going to look bad on our end when the footage comes out of some good old boys stalking the shit out of the Antifa fag.
It's going to look like a hate crime. And that is exactly what they'll paint it as.
But it's not.
Oh, yeah, no. Although, I mean, the beating would be on par with a hate crime just because of how vicious and unfair it'll be.
What do you think, Doku, if Sons of Confederate Veterans actually start guarding stuff in Richmond and in other areas of the South? Do you see this really taking a violent turn, or do you think that might help settle it down? Because Antifa, some LARPers with tiki torches is one thing. A good old boy with his fucking AR is a totally different animal.
And I don't see them actually wanting to fight that fight. Yeah, they might be. You'll hear articles coming out saying it's intimidation. It's a bunch of whatever buzzword you want to throw out there. But at the end of the day, no, these people don't want that fight. And I've even talked to people on the other side of the spectrum who say, like, yeah, what we're doing is there to make a point, but they're not. The majority of people that are behind even this absolute nonsense, they don't want that fight. They want to make a point. And okay, you made your point. We hear you, but you're pushing your limits. This is why the saying, we're nice until we're not, exists. When you start threatening our own communities, when you start threatening what keeps us a stable and a stable society, and you become a threat to that, you now become a threat to me, my family, my children, my neighbor. It doesn't matter what skin color or religion my neighbor is. You're now a threat to our community, and you will be treated as such. And that's what these people don't realize. They will be met in kind. And again, as you said, they're LARPers. They think they can get away with this type of nonsense, and to some extent, in certain areas, they can. But when they can't, well, not only does it go very badly, it goes very badly very quick. And then they'll start trying to hide behind deflection and buzzwords and things like that. It's like, oh, you're an ism. No, you're a threat to me. You're a threat to my community. You're a threat to local businesses. And chances are you're probably not even from this community. So how about you go ahead and pack the fuck up and get the fuck out before something bad happens to you?
You ain't from around here. All right.
And the thing is, it won't be white people doing it. It won't be black people doing it. It won't be Hispanics. It won't be Asians. It'll be everyone from that community trying to defend their community against people who ain't from around there.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of an old poem called "Wrath of the Awakened Saxon." Basically meaning, Britain might seem like it's gone soft now, but don't push us too far, or else, well, you're gonna have another fucking empire on your hands.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. I'll go into my final thoughts and then let you guys. Here's the thing, people. All right. You can shove people around for a good long time. You could irritate us, mildly inconvenience, shut down a road for an hour or two. You can even protest. I love protest. I'm great with it. Hey, if you have the ability and the want to fight that fight, you can even go into open rebellion. You can even secede from the Union. Be prepared to back up your actions. You all hang separately or you hang together. Same for people who think like me. And we keep getting shoved, and look the other way, almost like a Quaker. Just turn the other cheek. But then you're going to hit the line. All right? I'm already at the point where I won't let my wife leave without her gun. She has, because she doesn't like to listen to me. But I would prefer her to have it on her. Oregon is an open carry state. Set it in the seat next to you. You know what I mean? Put it on your hip. We're done. You're going to shove us to the wall. And then when you have somebody trapped, only thing left to do is fight your way out of it. And there is a giant silent majority in America. And it's not the people looking like idiots putting human feces in their garden trying to grow tomatoes. Okay? Thinking that's going to feed them tomorrow when it takes a few months, guys. Hate to break it to you. You'll starve to death before that crop's ready, especially the way you're killing those plants. I mean, don't you guys smoke weed? How do you not know how to grow? Never mind. It's okay. I'll let it go. You don't want to push America that far. You don't want to push people like me who started out as pretty much a fucking anarchist also. And now you have me agreeing with MC 99% of the time. The only thing we used to agree on was the damn penguins. The penguin menace is a real issue, people, but that's an argument for another day. I want everybody to calm down. COVID made you insane. I get it. You're just like my ex-wife. Crazy. It's cool. But just like my ex-wife, you need to go the fuck away. Go home. We're done with you. Because if you don't, someone's going to make you. I'm done. This is Mad Dodge Productions. Come back again. I'm going to go ahead and let Doku and Yorkie say their piece if they got one. Go ahead, boys.
Yorkie, I'm going to let you go first.
I'd just like to say, Heil Pingo.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Prost.
All right. I'll go ahead and drink to that. Well, then. No, the only thing I have to say about this topic of conversation is very straightforward and very simple. The majority of people, and I say the majority, not the people who screech loud on Twitter and Facebook and try to throw out buzzwords, but the majority of people who have their heads screwed on right, regardless of political affiliation and ideological dogma. We see what's going on right now, and we're not happy about it. We don't like when people come through and try to burn down communities and threaten our loved ones, threaten to break into our houses and steal things that we worked hard for weeks, months, maybe even years. We don't like that. We like a stable society, even if there is some type of civil discourse. We like to push back against government authoritarianism. That happens. But the majority of people, regardless of skin color, we look at each other as Americans. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your ethnic background is. I don't care what your skin color is. You're either an American and you want to uphold some type of social stability so that we can all go ahead and make our money, and unfortunately have to pay some out of pocket to the IRS so the government can keep running because Woodrow Wilson did that. Okay, we understand that. But if you're against the country and what we stand for and you're trying to burn our stuff down, well, I'm not the government. I'm not the police officer. I'm not Chauvin. I have done nothing wrong. If you start threatening me, my family, my neighbor, or the stability of my community, guess what? You're going to see a lot of Americans of all different shapes, colors, and sizes come out and tell you to either go the fuck home or you will suffer the repercussions of it. And we are getting close to that breaking point where we are tired of this crap. It has been going on for 4 fucking years. So all of you armchair Marxist and college-educated progressives, you're going to learn eventually, if you keep this crap up, hardworking Americans of all shapes, colors, and sizes are going to come out against you, and we're going to come out in overwhelming numbers and overwhelming force. But we prefer to do it in the democratic process that was already set up by the founding fathers, so it doesn't have to resort to what you idiots use, which is violence and intimidation. Because if we do come out in force, you have already lost. Do not push us any further. It's getting damn close. Don't do it. For your own sake, as someone who is an American, who appreciates freedom of speech, right to peaceful assembly, and freedom of expression, you can keep burning the flag all you want, but the second you burn the flag that is on my house, the second you come onto my property, the second you threaten me, my life, my family, guess what? It ain't going to end well for you. You might want to go ahead and count your chickens while you have them, because you ain't laid any eggs yet. And they're not going to hatch if you keep going down the road you are. That is where we are right now. And I do not want to see it come to that, because despite having ideological disagreements and differences, I don't want to see my fellow Americans come to any harm, regardless of the ideological disagreement. This is not what we want. You want to peacefully protest? Be my guest. But what you're doing right now is not peaceful protesting. And for all of you out there who are peacefully protesting, who are actually denouncing and disavowing these people who are trying to be agitators and trying to create violence and burn down your own communities, keep doing what you're doing, because you are the voice that needs to be heard and denounce these radical people who want nothing more than to see this country burn and take away your friends, family, and livelihood simply because they have an ideological disagreement with you and they're using you. That's what you need to realize. Left, right, center, doesn't matter. These agitators, Antifa, BLM, they are using you to further their own agenda, and you need to wake up to that, and you need to denounce them and get them the hell out of your community before they do any more damage than they've already done. Because if you don't, guess what? That authoritarian government, those brutal police officers, the ones you hate so much, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to come in and they're going to tell you enough is enough. And they're going to lock you up. They're going to sentence you. If you're lucky. If you're unlucky, me as a law-abiding citizen, I'm not going to be able to help you, because guess what? I'm not going to take up arms against the government that is going against someone who is trying to burn down my own community and threatening my family and my neighbor. You're going to be on your own, and that is not a fight you're going to win. Mark my words. Keep pushing your luck. Watch what happens, because we won't be here to fucking save you. And you got a super chat, Dodge. From the gorilla himself.
Yeah, yo, I went fishing and sat in the sun. Now I look like a damn lobster and I can't sleep because the sheets is sharp.
What the hell are you doing with sharp sheets, bro? You know what? Don't answer that question.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the $5 super chat, Pinoid. You showed up right when we're ending it, bud. That sucks, but I do appreciate it. And Doku, hey, you can't help them, but if they need some tips, check out Lockdown 23-1. He'll tell you how to survive your first couple days in jail.
That's the thing. The only thing we can do to help these idiots is actually just try to tell them the truth, and maybe a few of them might wake up and realize what they're doing is absolutely fucking retarded. It's so stupid.
Oh shit! So Pinoid, another $5. Am I the only libertarian left? That's a big number. Arrest last year. Maybe there's too many laws. No, there is. But you know what is a good law? Don't burn down the community. It's a good fucking law. I would like to see that one stick around.
That number, Mad Dodge, would be 10,380,000 arrests last year. And I kind of agree with Pinoid on this one. We have a lot of really stupid laws on the books, and the more laws you have, well, guess where your tax dollars are going?
Yeah.
I say keep it simple. We need to cut down on some of this shit because, bro, I'm sorry, you're gonna charge me fucking $25 for jaywalking? Fucking kidding me?
Well, no.
There's a car parked on the sidewalk.
Well, no, and yeah, that's just a topic for a whole nother time. Peanhoid, hopefully you caught some fish, man, and thank you again for the super chats, dude. I am gonna get off here though. It's 1 a.m. It's about 4 over in VA, so
It's
yeah,
fucking 9 a.m. over here.
time to wrap her up. Throw out the bag into the. Never mind. Wrong number. Prank caller.
Dodge, are you saying that was that a fart from Howard Stern's asshole?
No. No, I was about ready to give away where I hid the bodies. I mean, what?
Oh no, I thought that was a certain general.
But hey, thank you everybody. Hopefully we'll be doing the World War I stream tomorrow. Next weekend I might go camping. I don't know how the weather's looking or anything, so I'll keep you guys posted. We'll see what's up. Hopefully we have another upload coming soon of the Sabat game. We'll see. I'm hoping to record tomorrow. I'm not sure. Good night, everybody. Hey, stay away from the rioters and Antifa if you can. If you can't, well, carry a big stick. We're out of here. Good night.
That applies double for Muslims.